Oh, people, there we are. We're live. We're unmuted. We're finally going. We're stumbling into tonight's episode, chat. The second quarter is already underway of Cavs versus Pacers. And make no mistake, I guess we've been live for the first quarter, but not for that. I guess we just weren't connected to anything. I don't know. IT messed it up once again, chat. So, tough start here for IT on the Sunday night game. But I guess who's playing worse right now, IT or the Cleveland Cavaliers? Because they are down by, am I reading that right, chat? 25 points. And again, the first quarter is already in the books. So the lost tapes, chat, the first hour, we've just been rambling about pretty much nothing. Benedict Mathurin got ejected at one point. There hasn't been much else going on. A couple of fouls from Garland sent him to the bench at one point as well. But this is the first time that we've kind of seen the Pacers in this style of game as well, too, which, I mean, of course, with anything, I mean, giving up a deficit at any point of the game, or, in anything, chat, but giving up a deficit is just going to be a tough thing to overcome. Big picture, not just, of course, I guess in a game, you didn't overcome it, but a big picture as well, too. It's like, okay, that's like a tough sort of bump in the road thing to overcome. But in the individual playoff series, I mean, when you lose a game and the other team didn't even play well necessarily for the whole game, it's like, okay, we played better and we lost. And it's like, okay, well, what happens in the game when the other team plays better? And, well, this is what happens, Chad. Again, the Pacers really haven't had a good game in this series. I mean, they played pretty good in game one. We're not giving enough game one credit, Chad. It's more that game two emphasis, of course, with them just dramatically stealing that one even a little bit more than they did that first one. But for them to actually be able to go out and put on the dominant performance in this type of way, and that's what we were saying as well too, with the the quote unquote better teams, the home teams, the one seeds in the 1 and 2, I guess, because these are both the Eastern Conference playoffs that are kind of in this weird 2-1 sort of situation right now with the underdog teams up. But both of those better teams have looked like the better teams in those series for not just moments in the series, but majorities of the series as well, too. It's sort of, it's Usman and the Leon Edwards fight, Chad. It's like Usman, you still got to give him his respect for actually having the, like Usman did win the fight. He just unfortunately lost the fight because Edwards, knocked him out with like the last second to go, Chad, of course. But, you literally just, he dominated the guy the entire fight. So it's, not even a great fight to go back and rewatch in that type of way. But, like the Celtics and the Cavs have actually had those good-looking moments as a top-level team against their opponents in these playoff matchups. And the Pacers, they have had the vibe of a team that, I mean, and obviously they can go toe-to-toe with any of these top teams, but can they ascend up to that little bit of a next level where I think they would need to get to maybe win the rest of this round, but definitely to win the conference finals if they want to try to represent the East in the NBA finals this year. And maybe the league, for the sake of having Jokic trying to win a finals or something for some reason, they would want Indiana in the finals at that case, but feels like that they could really play ball with anybody at this point, chat. And this is going to be a brutal, not even, second half, chat. We still got 9:20 to go in the second quarter here. They've already matched their turnover total, basically, for the series in the average for the first couple of games in that almost first quarter right there. So, another, I don't know if you can call this a rollover performance, chat, but this is just another one of those dramatically inefficient performances in a big spot like this. And the Clippers, of course, a Game 7 is the ultimate moment in a playoff series, so the way that the Clippers performed in a Game 7 is going to be sort of the ultimate opposite way to look at stuff from this playoffs this year. But this Cavs game is going to be right up there with it, Chad. I mean, the opportunity, opportunity is obviously not the right word, but the chance that you do go down 3-1 if you lose this game, you're on the other team's home court as well too. After they took a couple of games off of off of your home court, chat. So to not be able to go out there and have that full sense of urgency, I mean, it's not, again, this is like literally almost mathematically one of those like, this is what champions are made of type game, because if Indiana wins this game, what champions are made of is, it says if you get a 3-1 lead, you're probably going to win the series most of the time. And the other side of that, like we're saying, is if Cleveland can go out there in this type of game and just say, season on the line, we can't go down 3-1. We absolutely have to play our best basketball, and we absolutely have to go out there and win that game. And then they go out there and lay out a beautiful first half up until this point. Then we're just looking at we're looking at a totally different thing. But right now, chat, of course, not even just their play, but is this one of those like questioning performances where you're like questioning what this team is? Because like we're saying, it's questioning chat, but it's in the moment of when it happens too. Like that's the part you have to calculate for in this stuff. If you have this performance in game 1 of the series, then you can bounce right back. You can have the rest of the series to have really good performances, go on and win the series, or have a bunch of close games and keep it competitive and be like, hey, that one just really got out of hand in that first game. Sorry about that one, guys. But in order to, in Cleveland, just another turnover as well. Toppin swooping in. Oh, Chet! Chat, you don't want to invoke the legendary names all the time, but obviously those are the ones that pop into your mind first. A little Dr. J on the baseline. Swooping in, reverse layup. We'll see if we get like a, this is the modern day to throwback correlation play. I guess the difference would be Donovan Mitchell's probably not Hakeem Olajuwon as a shot blocker in terms of the presence he was facing there. Even Dean Wade rotating over, probably still not quite the same thing. I don't know. Who would you guys rather have trying to, block at attempt the basket? Would you rather have it be Dean Wade or like Michael Cooper or somebody like that? I feel like, we don't want to disrespect Dean Wade, chat. Mitchell, free throw line, buries it, cut the lead to 21. Yikes, chat. Yikes. But like we were saying with the Clippers, it is a moment where the Clippers have, of course, been questioning themselves almost every season, chat. And, you get a little bit older. You get all these players in these mid-life, mid-career, post-prime crises that they are also experiencing themselves. So there's just going to be questions revolving around, where the players are going to play, what the team's going to want to do with the individual guys, and the cost-effective stuff, and like we're saying, just the overall ages. What's worth continuing, I guess, from a basketball talent to be just continuing invested in that kind of a way. And, chat. Hunter, not even in the game at this point, so I don't know. Maybe they bring the starters back in here. They make a little bit of a push. Like, I wouldn't necessarily have said that I would have... I mean, any of these teams, chat, I wouldn't have necessarily have said that I would have felt confident with them. Or I would have not... Am I getting the right amount of knots in there, chat? Like, hey, yo. But, what are we talking about? I would have felt confident with a lot of these teams with the larger leagues. I mean, again, to the degree that you would feel confident about modern teams with the, because there is an understanding in the modern NBA of what a lead just in general is as well too, with the three-point shooting and with the math of it. But that again just changes the general baseline. So with the new baseline, it's like I would understand that. I would have that confidence in a lot of these teams to be able to go out and close these games. So it's not like I wouldn't necessarily say like, oh, I trust Indiana more with a lead than Cleveland necessarily. Again, based on what we've seen this series, I think Indiana has won our hearts a little bit more. So we haven't necessarily seen any, again, fourth quarter situations, close ones are going to be trustworthy situations. But we haven't necessarily seen like, oh, we got to, like we're saying, strap in for a game here and try trust a guy. Like, the Cavs are just, this is not, I guess we're not going to try to turn into like Stephen A. Skip Bayless here, chat, but, not championship basketball. Like, again, they're down 20 plus points, so it's not hot takey stuff, but just the amount of turnovers, and that's kind of like the Knicks, I guess, and we'd have to go back and look at the stats. Like, I don't want to necessarily, again, throw out factual. We don't want to throw out false information there, chat, fake news. But, you guys can go ahead and community note the pod, I guess. But it feels like their deficits have been a little bit different, where they've been missing some shots and stuff for sure, but it feels like the level of sloppiness, on offense hasn't been the way it has been for the Knicks today, or for the Cavs today. Like we're saying, this feels a little bit more in line with the Clippers' performance. DeAndre Hunter just tough three, right into the side of the rim. The dribble pull up, he's forcing jumpers now. Chat, is he still riled up from the Mathurin interaction? And Mathurin's not even in the game anymore. So, I guess the emotion of that would still carry over. I mean, make no mistake, but does he feel the need? I mean, Hunter's probably just going at everybody. Chat, Pacers, they're a little chatty. They're a confident team. They were hanging out with John Halliburton this year, so they're, they probably picked up a talking for like a trash talking phrase, I guess, or something like that. John Halliburton just writing lines for the guys in the locker room. Chat, John Halliburton might be a trash talk writer for the Pacers. I wouldn't be surprised. Teams, is that an idea? Do you guys need trash talk writers? I feel like some guys obviously don't. There's some characters where you're just like, okay. I mean, Charles could be a writer now. We could just hire out, of course, Chuck GPT to write out for all these guys. But maybe the teams need to bring in some of the, and some of these teams, I mean, obviously the New York, LA teams, they got some pretty high profile fans in terms of the creative industry, but they really branch out. Chat, like, I don't know if Chalamet, I mean, I feel like Chalamet could cook up some pretty good lines. Chat, like the Knicks, this next game against Boston, they have a chance to go up 3-1 and really close them out in the Garden. Chat, so really put him in a bad spot for the rest of the series. So maybe Chalamet needs to cook up a couple of trash talk lines to feed the guys, just to help because it's helping get in their psyche as well too, get in their mental, mess with their minds a little bit. I mean, again, and we've seen that as a recipe to get past the Celtics in the playoffs before. It seems like there's a good recipe to get past the Celtics where they shoot 25 for 100 across the first two games of the playoffs. But it is also, as much as you want to take a look at that and go, the obvious negative is in chat, it's going to be crazy to say, like, again, I'm a young guy, chat, so am I impressionable by the new wave of basketball that's being played right now? Like, let's just blame it on that. It's the basketball that I've grown up with, so it's like an iPad. It just makes more sense. It's technology. It's I've grown up with it. But I get, after watching those two games, where Mazzulla is approaching his basketball from. And again, the Celtics as a team can get to a level of shot making individually that can hang on. Like Jaylen Brown, of course, I guess in the best Jaylen Brown performances, he's going to be a 40% three-point shooter or whatever. But peak Jaylen Brown is also operating a lot out of the mid-range and stuff, and not necessarily like the peak analytic efficiency. Tatum can, as much as you don't want him to settle for that stuff, can still operate in, there's still effective versions of him using his size and skill to operate in those spots as well. But you see them be able to, what I'm trying to say is, Chet, them be able to miss 75 threes and still win those games closely, because, the Knicks aren't even really taking that many. They're not really a three-point shooting team whatsoever. So, again, they're having to grind these out, and it's impressive that they're able to make the comebacks the way that they are as well. And, this Cleveland game just continues to spiral out of control. And Boston, it was more of a run. It was really that more of a third quarter. There was a moment in the third. There was a moment in the second. You know, there was just a part of the games where they would sort of flip the switch, have the run, and then it's like New York's like, okay, here we go, chat. And to be honest, it felt like there was a moment in Game 3 where, you know, I guess, are we getting the games lined up right at this point, chat? Here, let me go. Yeah, because it would have been them closing it to 2-1. So yeah, chat, now the timeout's been called in the Sling TV feed, so it's the scores match 60-32. 60-32. This is Thunder Grizzlies territory, chat. You don't want to be reminding us of a Thunder's Grizzlies game with any of your scores, that's for sure. But yeah, it was Game 3 last night, 115-93, and there was a moment in this game. I don't know why I looked it up over here, chat. I'm leaving you guys out. My bad. Let's look up the score over here, because I guess I could look up the little game flow chart thing as well too to figure out what time in the game they kind of had that little, and I guess it was kind of that same second half area where it had been happening, chat, but it almost felt like, I guess Game 2 had that sort of here we go again feeling, and Game 3 had that a little bit, but it was almost a manufactured here we go again in a way where the Game 2 was like, there's no way this is happening again, like this can't actually happen again, the Knicks are going to win this game again. And Game 1, of course, was just like, wait, the Knicks are going to win this game? And I guess maybe, you know, you listen to, of course, Bill Simmons and his dad, shout out Dr. Bill, you know, talking about his experience in the arena with the different levels of intensity between the two games as well, too. And I guess, you know, did Dr. Bill make the trek down to New York to watch the games in the Garden? Who knows? Maybe Spike Lee on the pod? Or Tracy Morgan was Tracy Morgan at the games chat? I don't know who was all Ben Stiller, and I guess it was Chalamet. Chalamet would be on the pod. Talk about the games for sure. We're not talking about our pod at this point, of course, but of those guys, who's the most likely of those guys to end up on the Rem and Sam pod? Ben Stiller, Tracy Morgan, Timothy Chalamet. That's a long game. Like, get Chalamet later in his career. Like, hey kids, remember Timothy Chalamet? Like, I don't even know what the Chalamet equivalent. Maybe, you know, I guess, you know, now we're going to start throwing around legendary names. But again, we all know what he's like, the Anthony Edwards of actors, chat. We all know he's on the trajectory to be one of those guys. I mean, you don't just get cast as Bob Dylan in the biopic if you're not on the trajectory to be one of those guys, right, chat? But, you know, the way like De Niro, and if you're just, again, looking at the career of a great actor, maybe the way, like, De Niro has kind of tailed off with some of the movie selection stuff, and, you know, I guess, does Chalamet just make different choices, and is there reasons why, whatever, but it just, like, in general, you still go back and look at the De Niro IMDb at this point, you're like, okay, there's a whole, you know, outside of, like, The Irishman or whatever, there's just, like, a whole decade plus of movies, 2 decades, however many, that you're just probably not going to go back to in a... And maybe I'm underrating maybe some of those, chat, but for me, it's just like some of those De Niro later comedy stuff that he was doing. I'm thinking because I used to work at a trampoline park where De Niro had this movie where I don't even remember what, maybe the movie's not called Dodgeball, obviously, because Dodgeball's already taken as a title. But actually, well, I guess research corner here, chat. Let's look it up. But maybe the way, you know, the kids these days would be like, okay, we hear the name De Niro as like a great actor, but haven't really, like, in time, you know, experienced what De Niro is as like a great actor. I guess the point is, could we get Robert De Niro now on the pod? Robbie De Niro? Robert De Niro Sr., chat? Robert De Niro Sr.? I didn't know he was going with the jerseys name thing where the senior junior added to it. He doesn't really have that in like his credit title, so I don't know if he started crediting himself as Robert De Niro Sr. as well. But where's the full archive footage? Credits? Chat. Oh wait, is this his dad or something? 22-93? Robert De Niro Sr.? Chat. Why didn't he be the first one that pop up? Let's see here. Oh, because it's separated. But shout out, look at that. a little father-son there, chat, maybe? I guess it has to be, but was he so born in 43? And make no mistake, chat, I mean, they were just ready to have kids back in the day. It is what it is. It was first on the to-do list of, you're just like, hey, you just have a kid, I guess. But yeah, okay, is this the run for De Niro? Tin Soldier, Alto Night, Zero Day, Nada, Ezra, oh yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon, I guess. Savage, Salvation, Amsterdam, which, you know, should be more in a, and maybe I'll go back and revisit it, but 2022, I don't know, it starts getting a couple years and you're like, hey, you can start revisiting some of the 2021s, 2022 stuff, even if you're like, I didn't feel like that hit in the first way. But it just, I can't, like, I don't even remember this movie that well, chat, but I just remember the trailers and being like, Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, there's something about it. But and especially now, like we've talked about before, the way that trailers are so effective, like it just it seems like all the trailers are really great, chat. But this one, there was a cohesiveness to the trailer that was kind of like, I wonder what this movie's going to be like. And again, it's got such a great cast that we might have to really go back and give it a second run, chat. But is it War with Grandpa? It might be this one. Because, yeah, I remember this was the poster, chat. Old school versus the new school. Yeah, I remember for that part for some reason, but not the actual, I guess, title. But, and I guess I've never actually seen this. Oh, here's the scene, chat. Yeah. Here's the scene. So I don't know if this is even like a major plot point in the movie, but there's just a part in the movie. So there's also, you know, they're also in like a Walmart here. Did they put up the posters in a Walmart? I don't know. Are we going to get taken down for playing this trailer, chat? Hopefully not, because it's got a 33 on Metascore, so they need us playing this trailer to get the name back out there. 101 Studios. Shout out to the good people over at 101 Studios for getting Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro and Rob Riggle, chat. Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman's kind of another one where maybe the IMDb's not, and you know, nobody's got a perfect IMDb. Uma Thurman, Christopher Walken, chat. De Niro, Thurman, and Christopher Walken. I mean, make that movie 30 years ago. So that'd be 1990. Chat. I guess I don't know the whole Christopher Walken career like that, but or Thurman. What year exactly was Kill Bill? I feel like that was around then, chat. That was. Okay, it was 2000s, 2003. I thought that would have been 90s, but yeah, 2003 for Kill Bill. So, you know, that's obviously Uma Thurman at the peak of her powers. What did Uma Thurman do before Kill Bill? Because she's also in this movie with Ethan Hawke that we had to watch in school at one point. And it's the title is something like Battlestar Galactica, but it's not Battlestar Galactica, I don't think. It's something else. But I'm not exactly certain her full IMDb in general. Oh, chat. The King of Kings animated film she's in. I think that grossed really well. I was looking at some of the highest grossing movies, and it was like in the top 10 for this year so far. Because again, Thunderbolts is not doing too bad either at the theater. Oh, Canada, The Kill Room, Red River. I mean, you know, again, War with Grandpa in 2020 where all of these careers converge, chat. But I guess we were going to go back a little bit and see. Is there anything obvious that I'm missing, chat? From, oh, well, I guess Pulp Fiction, of course. But I need to go back and rewatch the Tarantino's movies more. You know, Django is, Jamie Foxx is a guy that I feel like is always just in the actor rotation for us to go back and be rewatching his movies. So, but sometimes some of the, you know, it's just sometimes, again, it's like just because I don't listen to The Weeknd as much as the next guy does doesn't mean I'm denying The Weeknd's greatness. Just sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I should queue up The Weeknd a little bit more. Sometimes like, oh wait a second, I should go back to Tarantino movies a little bit more. He actually did do a good job with some of these movies, chat. Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, What's the newer one? Something Hateful Eight. Oh yeah, it was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Of course, is classic as well too. But and I feel like I'm leaving out. Yeah, he's got one of the more stacked IMDb. Just one of the more consistent, obviously, IMDb's of all time. But yeah, I haven't really, done the the Uma Thurman run. Where's this? Oh, Gattaca? Is this the movie right here, 1997? So this would have been before Kill Bill. Yeah, chat. Her breakout role, maybe. I mean, her and Ethan. Oh, I forgot that Jude Law was in this, chat. I forgot about that. That's a heavy hitter trio. That's a big three right there for me. Oh, Maya Rudolph as a delivery nurse? I mean, chat. Maybe we shouldn't have watched this movie in school. Maybe we would actually have paid attention. But I remember this movie. There was like a Javier Bardem movie, which was not No Old Country for Old Men, unfortunately, or Skyfall as well too. If it had been a film class, maybe Skyfall would have actually been played. But chat, it's 72-37. I mean, we might not even discuss the game anymore. This is crazy. This is even more dominant than anything the Cavs have been able to put up on, and I guess even more of a call it what it is, chat. I guess even a little bit more of a slacking effort than, and I guess we're not saying that they're not trying or whatever, but again, you just some turnovers, some easy missed looks, some chat, excuse me. I guess it's not true. We're not supposed to say that, but I guess Matherin was the one that was getting flared up as well too, over Hunter. But Turner for three, make it it's not quite a 40-point lead yet, chat. Can we get to 40? What would have been the bet on the Pacers up 40 at the half? Holy cow, chat. 40 seconds, a 40-point lead. Mitchell isoing to try to cut this to 32 or whatever for three. No, it's no good. Siakam, I mean, we got to get this to 40 at half. They're going to have to take a shot. The shot clock's going to run down. Turner for three, chat. 40, there it is. There it is. Cleveland, put the diff on the screen. A 17-0 run. Forget the 17-0 run. It's a 78-37 half, chat. 78-37. Dare we say the most dominant half of basketball anybody's played so far, or the most impressive scoring just that most impressive dominant first half, I guess, yeah, that anybody's played. I guess. Oh, chat, Neesmith at the buzzer, falling away at the mid-range. 41-point lead, 80-39, and the 39 as well. I mean, is there any version of a 40-point lead where you're like, okay, there's just no version of it, but, 8, I guess to be 80, it would have to be 80-40 if they score 80. What would a team even have to get to in a first? If a team put up 100 in a first half and it's like, I guess, yeah, it would be 100-60, then you're just like, what? You put up 60 in a first half, it's respectable, but you give up 100, it's like, maybe some Wizards team tanking for, it would have to, and obviously, a playoff game as well, too, is going to be kind of it's an unacceptable, obviously, diff in the game, chat. But this would have to be Wizards tanking for Cooper Flag level desperation in the regular season, and then chat, just like G League. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? 40 points at halftime of a playoff game is crazy. I mean, what are the, I guess, largest halftime leads of NBA playoff games? Maybe we can get something real quick here. Wait a second. The largest halftime lead in NBA playoff history was achieved by the Cleveland Cavaliers, who led Boston by 41 in Game 2 of the 2017 Eastern Conference Finals, chat. So the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, chat, I don't even have to go back. 2017 Cleveland. I mean, we're talking about LeBron James at the peak of his powers. We're talking about the most prime version, I guess most prime, but maybe the most iconic, most classic version of LeBron James that is going to go down in history, chat. That post Miami Cleveland run. So that would have been the, I guess, with 16-17 playoffs, because they're saying the 2017 Cavs, like, it happened in the year 2017 versus the season that started in 2017. So they lost. The Celtics lost to the Cavs in 5 that year. So it'd make more sense that the series where the Cavs were more dominant would have been the one. Wait, did that say Game 2, chat? I guess we were just looking at the score. Yeah, Game 2 was the game. LeBron had 30 in that game. 130-86 was the final score. In the first half, the Cavs, it was 72-31. So not too far off. The Pacers just pushing it a little bit farther offensively. You had, in chat, I mean, I guess, in one hand, LeBron James dominating a team in this kind of way is not the most surprising thing to look back in history. But, again, I guess Isaiah Thomas, of course, off of his MVP-ish level, first team All-NBA, or should we say like All-NBA level season? Yeah, he was second team that year. 5th in MVP voting, though, so, he's hovering right around that level of a top 5 guy in the league that year, which was obviously a crazy season. Just, crazy great that he had that season. He was going nuts that year. But, not great in the first half of that game, unfortunately. And just the matchup of Isaiah versus LeBron, I mean, I think we still would all know who we had faith in that game. Chad, a rookie Jaylen Brown was the one bright spot. Oh, I guess it's for the entire game still. But still, 7 for 11 from the field. His only misses from three-point range, getting to the free throw line a couple times. Definitely some garbage time minutes in there in the second half. Let's see. 13 of his 19 points in the second half. For sure, chat. But LeBron with 37 and 30.7 assists, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, 3 blocks. Crazy stat line game. 23 for Kevin Love, or 23 for Kyrie, 21 for Kevin Love. How many times do we think all 3 of them got to 20 points in the playoffs together in general, chat? Because, I mean, how many times did all 3 of them play together in general? They had that title run, obviously. But in terms of the run as a unit, it is weird. I mean, shout out to Kevin Love that, unfortunately, I feel like you just don't. It's gonna be weird, Chad. Is it gonna be remembered like a big 3 because that's how it was remembered or how it was projected going in? And they did achieve, and Kevin Love did have good performances, but again, it never really felt like a big 3 there in general. So I guess just obviously appearing with Cleveland for the first time in the playoffs. How many times did he get to 20, chat? So he scored 20 or more points in the playoffs 20 times. And Kyrie obviously missed a chunk of playoff time, and so did Kevin Love as well, too, like we were saying. He got hurt. By the time we got to that first finals, he got hurt in that series against Boston, actually, I think. And then, or he got hurt in an early, obviously, Eastern Conference series. Was it like a shoulder injury? And then Kyrie got hurt in the finals. So, 13 games played in 24-25. 21 games played in what did I say, 24-25? 14-15. 15-16, 21 games played, and then 18 games. Played all games in 16-17. And was 26 a game in the playoffs? Are we looking at... we're looking at Kyrie. I was going to say, are we looking at Kevin Love? No, okay, Kyrie. That makes a little bit more sense, Chad. Let's go back to Kevin Love here real quick. No disrespect to Kevin Love, but again, maybe just his role on the Cavs wouldn't have been conducive to that. Okay, 4 games played in 14-15. Makes a lot more sense. 20 games in 15-16, and then 18 games in 16-17. So they did have that full core for that 16-17 run. Unfortunately, just ran into Kevin Durant, his kind of peak season those 2 years in Golden State, and then gets hurt in the finals against Toronto the season after that. But Kevin Love was still cooking that year as well too. So that's really as well too why that core unfortunately may not get remembered in that same way, because you do have the best version of a Kevin Love playoffs in the year where it just the team to be remembered is of course that Golden State team. And again, it's just kind of going to be the LeBron, the mysticism of that LeBron run in general. But when we were at the theater watching Thunderbolts, and the trailers that they were running before it, they had a trailer for the new Prey movie that's dropping this year, which is, of course, in the Predator franchise. Prey dropped in 2022 and is a Predator remake / extension to the franchise. I say remake because it hits a lot of the beats of the first one, but set in a completely different time in the 1700s, like the early 1700s, in sort of this tribal, Native American setting, chat. And I guess we'd have to go back and I didn't see exactly which year this one was set in as well too. Still, actually, this one I think is futuristic. Now that I think about it, as well, chat, are we gonna have to pull the trailer back up and play it? But I mean, it immediately is just gonna launch us right back into a Predator franchise rewatch. I mean, it already has, chat, because guess what? We had the first Predator on in the background this morning, going as well. And watching Arnold in that one, you're just like thinking of all the best versions of Arnold. And Arnold is one of those guys as well too, where however you want to make the actor rankings, of course you can subjectively have him way up or way down the list, just depending on whatever kind of criteria that you're going to use. But you think about with his ability to select a role as well too, like he was always finding roles, I mean, for the most part, and it's just, again, his ability in the role, but always finding roles that really worked for what he was going for. And because of that, he's able to bring the same, he's got a lot of different characters that he plays, which is nice too. But there's obviously an Arnold thing that goes throughout. There's a through line through a lot of Arnold's characters, which is they're played by Arnold, and that's his range. But there is still, again, from an NBA player, but it's like there's no, I guess for Arnold, there's with his peak versions of movies, chat, there's no bad argument that you could make for like a lot of, like, again, we're seeing Predator, Terminator, any like the Total Recall, True Lies, like if you want to go for like the Arnold performances in those movies as well too. But if you're going like the Arnold performances in those movies, I mean, even some of the even more comedic ones as well too. I guess I don't know if you guys are going Jingle all the way for like peak Arnold, but again, for like all those main versions of the Arnold sort of action-y hero type guy that you're thinking of, they all hit different versions of him in a different way. That is like, you can make arguments for all of them being sort of are we using epitome right there again, chat? I don't think we are, but sort of the peak version of Arnold in all these roles. And I guess again, LeBron is kind of like that with his career, where even with the LA run, with how he evolved it this year and how he evolved it over the last couple of years as well too, but just this sort of bully ball center modern NBA version of LeBron James is just a different version of LeBron compared to what we got for his career. But I was thinking about him versus that Miami run, that Cleveland run that he had versus that Miami run that he had, that second Cleveland run versus the Miami run. Because again, it's like there's no bad option. It's like, you want to pick Arnold and Terminator, or you want to pick Arnold and Predator. It's like, okay, they're both great Arnold roles. But I do think, of course, that Cleveland, and just getting that Cleveland, that title is going to be the iconic thing. But it's not, if we're doing the Colin Cowherd, Jason Tatum, close your eyes. If we're doing the exercise, chat, and we get to LeBron James, I'm picturing LeBron James in the short sleeve, those black short sleeve Cleveland jerseys that nobody likes. That I guess they're kind of, got the sleeveless version of it right now. But that's iconic LeBron. But again, if you want to say like the best sort of peak version of LeBron is like the Miami LeBron, then that makes sense as well too, chat. But yeah, I guess LeBron corner for that. But I guess IT said we had to do a LeBron corner if the game got to a 40-point game. So it got there by halftime. So LeBron corner at halftime, I guess. But, and I was going to say, since we were rambling live as well, too, but we weren't actually live, I don't even know. Did we talk about Knicks Celtics here, Chad, or did we talk about it in the lost hour that we did? I don't even know at this point what playoff games we addressed on the actual live stream. But, yeah, shout out to the Celtics for closing out that game, too, because... And Chad, see, I'm nervous to even launch back into it because did I say this already on the live stream? So, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. But, for the Knicks as well, too, like, we haven't seen the Knicks have this performance like the Pacers have necessarily. I think that the Celtics had their Game 3 performance, and again, there are only 3 games, so maybe the Knicks, the second home game at Madison Square Garden, maybe their whatever adjustments and just... the home court sort of situation plays out. Maybe they're actually able to have the dominant performance. But I think if we looked at Indiana versus Cleveland as well, too, and, I think with Boston as the back-to-back champions, we do even give them, of course, a little bit more credit, or a little bit more benefit of the doubt to have a bounce-back game like that. And just maybe even more not go away in a series. Like, I mean, you would hope, chat. Again, I'm not trying to be too critical of the Cavs tonight. I mean, the Pacers are playing a great game as well, too, so we can focus on the positives, but it is going to be part of the storyline that's going to be played. Are we nervous to even look up the stats here, chat? What is oh, man. Sorry, Cavs fans. Look away. Live odds. Oh, no, chat. Cleveland. Live odds plus 32.5. At halftime, 90s. So I don't know if this is going to be an historic moment, but a 41. I mean, it would be, chat, a 41-point comeback in the NBA. I mean... Chat, is this like, this might even be outside of 3-1 series territory. 40 point, hey, yo, chat, biggest comeback in NBA history. Let's see, has it ever been a 30-point? 27 is what we're looking at? Oh, wait a second, is this article from 1996? We might just have to click on this just to go back in time, chat. Look at this. Oh, wait a second. Oh, no, the first game listed here was 1996. Okay. Because we got a 2022 game, of course, second, 2021. I guess we can't sort by date at all. But Utah versus Denver, 36-point deficit, a halftime deficit of 34-70, a final score of 107-103. That was November 27th of 1996. So... I mean, Utah, of course, Karl Malone, John Stockton, 96. They're about to head to the finals a couple of times here in the next upcoming seasons. But in Denver, I don't even know if they still had some of those, Issel was still on the team at this point, or if it's a new, maybe like Mutombo is on the team in 96, or is he in Atlanta? Chat, we're always kind of fond of the Devin Nuggets history, the Denver Nuggets, I think is what we're looking for. How do you spell Denver, chat? Jesus. Denver Nuggets. Let's see here. If we can find this 90s. Wait, what year exactly? Oh, that game would have been in 96. So that would have been the 96-97 team. And they were 21-67, or 21-61. So they weren't even a good team. Again, this was early in the season in November. I don't know exactly start times. I mean, you imagine maybe 15, 20 games, not even, chat, 10 games into the season. We're looking at, what was the day on that one again there, chat? What's the article? Oh, November 27th, 1996. So, yeah, here we go. 103-107. If we can get the box score in front of 19,000 people, chat. Just letting the entire... Oh, and they made the push at home, so that actually would have been a great game to go to. Imagine leaving at halftime down 36. You're like, there's just no way. They're like, what is this team going to have the best comeback in NBA history? And you're like, oh, I guess 1996, you still opening the newspaper the next morning? I mean, you have TV. So maybe it's a combination of both, the newspaper and the TV and the radio. You just have all three going. Sensory overload, I think maybe even in 96, chat. They were still doing it. Pause. But Karl Malone, 31. Hornacek with 29. Stockton with 9 and 10. 2 for 12. Stockton! Maybe he was the reason that they were down 36 at halftime. Chad Morris, a little 11-point performance as well, too. So, yeah, I mean, Karl Malone really carrying. Denver was Dale Ellis, Brian Smith, Antonio McDyess, Mark Jackson. Shout out to Mark Jackson, 6 and 13 in this game, 13 assists. Mark Jackson always balling out. 6 turnovers, doesn't matter, chat. 2-1 on the turnover ratio. Not bad. Not bad. And Irvin Johnson as well, too. Tom Hammonds off the bench. Jeff McGinnis and Brooks Toff and Darvin Ham. Wow, Mark Jackson and Darvin Ham. So the all-coach team, Chad, they gave up a 40-point lead. Yikes. And then 2 guys went on to be NBA head coaches of, like, you know, and I guess not active coaches anymore, but they were still good regular season coaches, I think, for sure. And I think could be good couple of round playoff coaches in there. So this would literally be the largest deficit in NBA history that a team has ever overcome to win, playoff or not, chat. And I don't even know if anybody has had a 30-point in the playoffs. Let's see. We've had 7 or 8 of these. Okay, so 29 this year is that the largest in playoff history? March 25th. Oh, April 15th. The Clippers versus the Warriors. 31. And maybe that's why that gets lost, chat, because, you know, obviously the Warriors teams were overall in the playoffs successful enough to be like, oh, whoops, didn't mean to have that happen. But what year was that? 2019. So that would have been that Durant series where... Was Steph out that series? I think Steph was out for some of these playoffs. But I think I just remember Durant being awesome in the series. Chat. Maybe Kawhi was the one that got hurt. Oh, no, Shea's still on the team. So, ooh, chat. Bum. This is pre-Kawhi, pre-Paul George. Yeah, this is the fun Clippers team. That was just all good vibes. All hope, chat, before things took a dark turn to different kind of hope. Hope crushed, chat. I don't know. But, yeah, no, Steph 6 games in this one. 24 game, just Durant 35, 5 and 5 across the board. 56-40 shooting. I mean, Steph was 50-50 himself. Jesus, chat. This is why this team was an historic team. So, like, the one game that they lost, it's like, oh, whoops. How did this team... Oh, they got 2 off of them. That's right. Game 2. So, was it game 2 that they made that effort? That's crazy, chat. The greatest team in NBA history gave up a 31-point lead in the third quarter. I still don't even believe it. I'm going to have to go back and watch this game. Check the tapes, chat. Did this game actually happen? Is there video evidence of the Wilt 100-point game in the Clippers 31-point comeback versus the Warriors, chat? Where was it at? Wow, chat, they did it. In the third quarter, they were down by 30-plus points. Incredible. And halfway through the third quarter as well, too, where'd the run start? Lou Williams, Gallinari, Lou. Offensive foul by Durant. Turnover, I think that's just the same play. Turnover by Draymond. Foul by Pat Bev, drawing a couple of fouls, chat. And then another, with 3 fouls in a row by Pat Bev? Did that actually happen? They have it listed here at 3 different times. Like this one they have, listed at the same time. Oh, excuse me, chat. I think that one was just straight into the mic. And, yeah, again, it would make sense. Offensive foul, of course, that it would then result in a turnover. But even still, third quarter wrapping up, down 18, down 19, chat. Lou Williams with the 3 to cut it to 19 anyways. 2-pointer. So a little Lou Williams run anyways. Right there. Montrezl Harrell. Couple free throws. Garrett Temple making an appearance, chat. Garrett Temple. Wilson Chandler. How did Wilson Chandler, Garrett Temple, and Landry Shamet win this game? But, I mean, chat, this is honestly more impressive than what the Clippers did, or what the Rockets did against the Clippers in that game when Harden was on the bench. Like, I know we look back at that game because they had a star player that wasn't in the game, but this team was that team without Harden already, and they had arguably, like, you know, Josh Smith is still a guy that felt like he could be a dude at one point. Like, I guess, you know, Gallo and some of the guys felt like they could be still competitive guys. But this is a wild piece of history to remember and uncover, Chad. I'm sure the Clippers fans hold on to this moment dearly as like the last fond Clippers memory that they have. Or maybe feeling good about the team before going into the bubble as well, too. Might be another fond Clippers memory. But 90-47, can they hit 100 before the Cavs hit 50? The Cavs only need one more three-pointer potentially to hit 50. Nembhard's going to go to the line, though. So I guess, and then Neesmith with the three. Once again, the Sling TV is a bit of ahead. So, chat, we do have something to address as well too. We do have a bit of a ranking to get into here. So, maybe we should take a quick break and then we'll get into the ranking because, ladies and gentlemen, the draft lottery, NBA draft lottery is tomorrow. So it's time for the annual NBA draft lottery karma rankings. That's right, chat. We can rank, we will rank the karma that each team has right now as we stand toward the lottery. Because make no mistake, if there's one thing that is more important in the NBA lottery than the odds that you actually have, it's the karma that you have put out there over the last couple of seasons or however long that may tilt the scales in your favor. So, I mean, it's something very important to look at, chat. And with Cooper Flag on the line this year, with a bunch of high-level prospects on the line this year, again, it's another intense lottery that is highly anticipated. So, we just need to call it for an ISO, chat, while we work through these lottery rankings. So let's take a quick break, and then on the other side, which team has the highest? Am I using karma in the sentences right, chat? Which team has the highest, and is karmic even a word? The highest karmic opportunity to get Cooper Flag? It'll make sense, chat. The ranking on the other side.
All right, chat, let's get into it. The NBA Karma rankings for the 2025 NBA Draft Lottery. They may as well just play they may as well just rerun the other Pacers Cavs games at this point that have been more interesting. Just trick us, pretend like the game 4 is going to be close, and then it's like, oh no, wait a second, they just started doing a rerun. Or the game then gets close and they're like, we're back, cut back to live. Or, I mean, chat, they can't just do times like, I guess no disrespect to the broadcast team that we have right now, but we can't just cut to the studio and just small screen the game and just be like, yeah, Shaq and Chuck, you just take it from here. More people want to watch them than the game anyways, so just have the game. I mean, chat, they should literally, at times like this, they should be doing what we're doing. Just have the game on in the background for them and just have them take over the broadcast feed. But, yeah, of course, when Wembanyama was in the lottery, that was really the time when we feel like we had to step up, especially with the Spurs being in the mix at that point, to really look at the teams and see where the karma stood amongst the different franchises and who was positioning themselves in that way to best land a superstar, chat. Because, I mean, make no mistake, I know that we've we sit here and we act like the league is this just totally sort of, not random, but you get what we're saying in terms of just totally authentic, totally real set of events that happen. And make no mistake, chat, that's just not the case. We know they call fouls. We know that they tinker with stuff. We know that they will tell organizations to trade Luka Doncic to LA if they need to. But we also know that they will potentially influence the landing spots of their yard. I'm saying we know, chat. I'm just Rem and Sam just hit with a lawsuit for I don't know. Can we get a defamation lawsuit at this point? But chat. Let's just say it would seem in the best interest of the organization in terms of the NBA, the association, to want to maybe influence certain outcomes. And I think allowing, obviously, games to play out in a certain way where at the end of the day there is a realness to the result. I'm not saying they totally script it to where, again, if they wanted the Lakers to win the title this year, chat, they'd still be in the playoffs. So I think the Luka trade could be a piece that's like, okay, was this influence? What are the greater pieces at play here going on? And again, maybe, and we're talking conspiracies like, the league called them and told them that if they traded Luka to and then it's like they can move the team here and all this stuff. But maybe things just get put together and they're like, oh, we heard this over here and the league is looking for this. So hey, if these things happen, this becomes a realistic opportunity, then maybe we can take advantage. And you just start setting yourself up for different things in the future. And maybe you kind of, again, maybe things are being orchestrated that way unintentionally, but intentionally, but not by the pieces that we think, but still kind of all happening. But again, with either, if that makes sense. Yeah, but it's conspiracy, so it doesn't have to make sense. But with the lottery, I do think that I don't know if they rigged the lottery, chat. I don't know. I guess the part of me that still just thinks about the NBA as just the honest basketball sport and not the entertainment association. And maybe, it'll just be a cynical curve that I'll have as a fan where, as a kid, it's just like you're totally ignorant to any sort of possibility of tampering. Like any type of Donahue scandal, I wouldn't even have been in a possibility. I wouldn't even have known how to conjure that up as a thought, chat, because you're just watching these games and enjoying the basketball. So maybe as you get older, it's like, okay, the possibility that there is conspiracy involved, and then we overcommit. We're like, oh, well, it's all, it's not even conspiracy. It's all fake, and it's all that. So I'm not necessarily saying I'm there with it, where it's like the league is totally rigged. But again, I think, and you saw it very obviously with Wembanyama, I think there is definite interest in making sure that your investments are secure. Chet, I think the NBA, do they talk a little bit in code like Allegra Fontaine from Thunderbolts? I guess we gave the spoiler warning for Thunderbolts on the lost tapes of the live stream, so we better say it again now, chat. I just realized that. It's a good thing we haven't actually spoiled it. But so I don't know if that's a low-key spoiler, but yeah, spoiler warning for Thunderbolts if you're worried about spoilers for that. I guess, all the other big MC, because it's the MCU franchise, you got to maybe say spoilers for the other stuff as well too. But as well, if you're like, I'm kind of interested in the spoilers for the Thunderbolts, you're probably not like, okay, well then, I guess it's oh man, there's no Infinity Stones in this one. Like, what a bummer. Like, you're probably not in that line of thought. But yeah, like the way that Allegra de Fontaine is kind of just talking in these coded type things, Chad. I guess maybe we're using that type of language now. But oh geez, now I lost my train of thought. Rambling about the Thunderbolts. It happened again, chat. Where are we at? Oh well, we've lost our train of thought. The Cavs have lost their motivation to continue the season. I guess they do go back home and still have 2 games at home, but you got to win 3 in a row against the Pacers. It's gonna be a tough situation. Oh, I guess we were just rambling about the karma rankings. I thought we were I thought we were down a different rabbit trail, chat. I'm tracking the rabbit trails. What's the main trail that we were on? The karma rankings. So yeah, with a player like Wembanyama, as much as it may not even be beneficial as a Spurs fan to be like, hey, you know what? They rigged it to get to the Spurs. I guess it is at the end of the day because we get Wembanyama. But the Spurs it can't be denied that just feels there's a little bit more of a calmness that you have sending him to that type of franchise. And like we talked about as well too, I think, and maybe as we'll look at as well, I guess, get this game out of the background, chat. There's no need to have this up. As we look through these teams, for the bad teams, like we've talked about, this is as good of a bad team situation as we've ever had. 21 hours exactly, chat. 4 minutes till the lottery hits. So, there's definite cases to why there is upside to go to each of these spots, whereas maybe before there was like actual number 1 picks where you're like, man, if he goes here, they're starting from nothing. Like, it does feel like there is at least pieces and places in every organization to have positive feelings going forward. And as there is in anything, just because the league is getting better doesn't mean there's still not a ranking that exists. Like, there's still, again, the hierarchy of these organizations are more well run than the others, and we would still have probably said last year, and even still in the teams in this lottery mix this year. Do we have all the teams? Yeah, here we go. 1 through 14. San Antonio with 2 picks. Shout out to Atlanta for getting that 14th spot in the draft. But we would even say still that they would be a great franchise to go to in a great run organization. But I think there's just real interest in making sure that your highly valued future assets are ending up in the right spot to go forward. And again, like, because I'm trying to think of in the past as well too, like obvious examples, because like Zion in New Orleans, like maybe there's even a case that's anti the karma rankings because New Orleans proved that it's like, can they be a landing spot for number 1 picks? I know Davis is like kind of the one shot at that point. So it's like, okay, second time's a charm, maybe, give him at least one more opportunity with Zion Williamson. But and last year as well too, as much as the karma rankings were in effect, like it's still a thing that exists. The field was a little bit more undecided last year, and it almost felt like, again, Richer was the number 1 picks because Atlanta ended up getting Richer ended up being the number 1 pick because Atlanta got the number 1 pick in the lottery. And like of all the years, the first ever number 1 pick in the history of the Atlanta franchise. So again, that's almost a thing that fits into the karma rankings as well. It's like, it's this year that is kind of spaced out. The talent feels kind of even across the top in terms of projecting it out going forward. And Atlanta has never gotten number 1 pick before. They feel like a team that's never like sucked enough. Pause. Hey, yo, chat. Whoa. They've never sucked enough. It's crazy. But what are we talking about to get these picks? But they've never been bad enough to consistently be at the top of these lottery odds to like quote unquote stumble into a number 1 overall pick again, which is a credit to them. But of all the years for them to like jump up, it's not the Cooper Flag year where all of a sudden it's like, oh, now Atlanta has, Victor Wembanyama or just the random number 1 overall pick. Like, there's still a balance to where, again, the year the Spurs jump up and get Wembanyama, like we were tied for the number 1 pick in odds that year. We had the 3rd worst record, but I mean, you guys see the top 3 teams have the same odds. So we still had the same as the number 1 odds for Wembanyama that year. So it wasn't like the math still worked out that Wembanyama went to a team that he should have gone to in terms of the win total and all that stuff. But again, it seemed like San Antonio is like A+ top, real great organization, chat, to have a young superstar, especially front court talent as well too, like Victor Wembanyama, emerge going forward as a potential face of the league guy as well too. Like there's just a lot on the shoulders potentially of that young talent. And we're kind of seeing it again with Cooper Flagg this year, where the importance of where he lands, and maybe it's not just his development as well too. Like maybe with Wemby again, it's a little bit more of like, we don't want to put him in the wrong team. Maybe with Cooper Flagg, it's a little bit more positive thinking of like, we want to put him in the right team, if that makes sense. And not to say that Cooper Flagg, I guess, is more of a given than Wembanyama, because again, Wembanyama's already like an all NBA level defender just based on how good he is defensively at this point, and already kind of defensive player of the year easily, like so good defensively that he ruined defensive player of the year for the rest. Like nobody else knew who to vote for the rest of the league, because it's like, well, nobody else is obviously the best defender in the league. Like Wemby is just on the sideline right now, but Cooper Flagg obviously has a ability, I think, to lift a floor in a way, maybe that way. Like if you put him on a good roster, I think he could be added. And I guess of course if you just put Wemby on any good roster, he's going to be additive as well too. But again, like I think Cooper Flagg could also, I guess just also as well, make a positive impact in year one in a real way as both a lead guy or as well kind of a sidekicky type guy if he needed to be continuing to get his feet under him year one. If there was like another, again, not to just like go through the karma rankings, but if there's other young star players on these other teams that are more ready to take more shots and be lead guys in offenses right away, then it makes sense to like have him in the additive role. And he can, I think, make a team much more interesting. I mean, and that's going to be it as well too. Interesting, fun to watch. People are going to be tuned in, for the whatever storylines you want to say. Again, it's just a great young basketball talent that's emerging into the league that is getting a lot of hype that people are going to want to check out. That had a very high level run in college as well too, that regardless of what type of prospect he is, Chad, that's just going to generate that type of interest for people at the next level. But if we were going to go through the karma rankings 1 through, or I guess the opposite way, chat, 14 through 1, we can kind of cross teams off and go through the karma rankings. I guess we can kind of adjust it. Chat, I guess we're making a rule. We set this teams in stone, and we can't move anybody once we apply the ranking. And I guess Atlanta also, like, we have to make sure we get the trade part of it right. And in terms of the lottery picks, it's more the once we scroll down, chat, the chaos of the unprotected portion, or the picks falling outside of the protections, and now they're actually giving up or literally only 3 teams from 15 to 30 have their own pick. That's insane, chat. That is just crazy. But yeah, I guess San Antonio has, does the math work out where we have a 6 and a, so we have a 6.7% chance to get Cooper Flagg, not just a 6%, but 6.7. We have 1 extra ping pong ball in there for Atlanta. I guess it's not just like the number 1 pick pool and then the top 4 pool. It's because they put all of the odds in the same one, and then they pick the top 4, and then they just set the rest of the order based on that. But we would have then and again, we have Wembanyama, so it's not like we need the number 1 overall pick. Which, if we were, I guess we're just starting off the karma rankings, this might be the most unbiased thing we've ever said, chat. There is a real case that, and just to double check the score, 66 to 100. So, chat, cut it to 34. Do we start paying attention? 4th quarter underway. But again, we just got Wembanyama. We also just got Castle. So back-to-back rookie of the years. Like, there's a real case. I think there was a case that, again, before Castle like emerged as the obvious rookie, and he was kind of a dominant rookie all year as well, and really, in that number 1 spot for a large majority of the season. But earlier on, as it's kind of sorting itself out, you're like, hey, is there a case that and once Wemby goes down as well too, and you realize that we're kind of going to be back in that lottery mix, is there a case that, one, are we a Cooper Flagg team? Wemby and Cooper Flagg paired up could be insane. Or maybe just we jump in the top 4 and just add another top guy with one of these 2 first-round picks, and then, where the other one falls, we just get another guy or trade asset or whatever. But again, to have 2 rookie of the years and 2 potential guys like that, and also 2 first-round picks this year to, like, we're an interesting team, again, in that aspect of we already have the young talent, but because we have 2 first-round picks, if they don't move us up in the lottery, that's okay because we can move ourselves with the picks, and we're still an interesting team in the they can keep us an interesting team in the landscape by just keeping us at 8 and 14, because we still have the trade maneuverability. And again, the trade maneuverability to get to Cooper Flag, but now it's like, hey, San Antonio, you want to move up? You got to get a little aggressive here, or you got to get smart with your picks. Maybe we're not a team that is super high on the lottery karma rankings. The problem is, as an organization, again, to go back into our biased bag here, we are a great organization, and Pop is still with the organization as well too. I mean, the piece is set in stone to transition into the out of the Popovich era, and I guess into a different Popovich era in general. Again, he's still with the team, but Mitch Robinson, shout out to Mitchell Robinson. He's just having a great playoffs so far. If there was a Mitch in the playoffs having a great run, we wish it was Mitch Johnson, but it's Mitch Robinson for the Knicks. But maybe it'll be Mitch Johnson for the Spurs one day. But him as the coach, Brian Wright as the GM, like, it's a really good tandem to run the team going forward, I think, with, of course, the players that we have. So still continues to be a top-notch team in the karma rankings. But again, just because of our success as of late, I think we are, like, would you rather have a top 4 pick in Chicago or San Antonio? I know, again, outside of Wemby, we might be able to debate the rosters. You know, is Matas? I get Matas versus Castle. You're still probably taking Castle. It could be an interesting conversation, though. I still think Castle's two-way ability is superior, and that could be more valuable in the modern NBA, obviously. But we just have a lot going for us right now, Chad. You know, we're not maybe necessarily the number 1 team. So, you know, it's close with Wembanyama. But maybe for just this lottery, like, and if we're just ranking, I guess, are we ranking top 4 jump ability, or are we ranking we're ranking number 1 picks. That's what we've done in the past. So again, you can jump up into the top 4, but we're ranking this is the opportunity to get the number 1 pick. And I know, again, this year it's the Cooper Flag lottery rankings because we know who the number 1 pick's going to be. It's set in stone, but still jumping up into the top 4 is valuable this year. There's some great talent as well, but we'll be unbiased, chat. We'll be unbiased. We'll put San Antonio at 14. We'll start off the karma rankings and say, guess what? I don't, chat, are we just trying to reverse jinx it? But I don't think San Antonio's, hot take, I don't think San Antonio's going to win the lottery. I think maybe if we were doing top 4, I'd move us up a little bit. I think we'd have a higher shot at top 4 than, say, some of the next couple of teams that we might mention here. But in terms of the number 1 overall pick, I think the league's like, you're probably good. You don't need Cooper Flag. Maybe we'll just settle for Ace Bailey and call it a day, chat. It is what it is. Dylan Harper to run the team next to Steph Castle and just call it a day. You know, I guess we'll be fine with that. But in terms, I guess, you know, Sacramento doesn't even have their own picks, but maybe we just put them at 14 in the karma rankings anyways, just to rub it in. Pause. But Atlanta, they just got the number 1 pick with Richerche. They traded with so did they jump up because of does Sacramento actually get the number 1 pick? And it's like, oh man, we traded to Atlanta. Imagine, chat, Cooper Flag gets the number 1 overall pick. He could have gone to Sacramento, and it's like, whew, that was close. And now it's Cooper Flag and Richerche. Cooper Flag in Atlanta would be cool. I mean, unfortunately for Trae Young, that might be a bit of a hit to the not superstar status, but you know, that sort of lead guy status that he has on that team still right now. You know, is Jalen Johnson going for that role anyways? But Jalen Johnson and Cooper Flag, the Duke Blue Devils, team and forces there. But Atlanta's not going to win the lottery in back-to-back years, chat. What is this? The Cavs? They're not that bad. 40 wins? They'll be fine. Again, maybe a sneaky top 4 team, but they're not going to get the number 1 pick. I kind of want... Sorry, Chicago. I don't know why I feel like Chicago's not going to get the number 1 overall pick, but let's not write it off, chat. Let's not write it off. The only reason I'm hesitant is because it's such a large jump, but Atlanta was, 11 last year? So Dallas is just crossing their fingers, chat. I guess we'll get to them in a second. And speaking of karma rankings, I guess it just depends on how you look at their team. Are we NBA pity rankings or NBA karma rankings? But I feel like if we're talking number 1 overall pick, is Houston at 9 going to get the number 1 overall pick? Again, Amen Thompson feels like a guy that could be a number 1 overall pick in a draft. I know in the redraft situation, he's going to be battling Wembanyama in history for that. But to be honest, chat, I don't know if anybody said this before, and I don't know if this is a hot take, but is that, again, as the Spurs fan, maybe it's a crazy take, but is that going to be a little MJ Hakeem-ish? And, I guess you got Amen Thompson on the Rockets as well, too. But maybe in reverse order, hopefully, chat, where Wemby becomes the MJ in that situation. And not I guess we're not saying hopefully Wemby doesn't become the Hakeem, because if he does become the Hakeem, again, it's beloved. But am I just such a delusionally competitive guy that I would still be back like, we could have had MJ, chat. We could have had MJ. But that's not obviously how fans, I think, in Houston remember that time. But again, it's like, that's the point, is fans in Houston are like, we don't literally have zero regrets in taking Hakeem and not getting MJ in that draft. And I get that Houston couldn't have gotten Wembanyama because they were at 4th if we're doing the reverse situation. So I'm not sitting here saying like, San Antonio's looking at Amen. I mean, we are looking at Amen Thompson like, okay, he's making it interesting. But we're not, getting lustful basketball thoughts over Amen Thompson trades and Victor Wembanyama. But it could be a situation where both guys get like legendary guys that they're happy with, is basically what we're saying. And the draft kind of plays out where you're like, hey, you know what? Wemby was the top guy going in, but Amen Thompson is awesome and all NBAs and all that stuff, and we love having him. And the Spurs are like, hey, Wemby was the number 1 guy going in the draft, and there's no way that we're not taking him, a decade now from, putting ourselves in their shoes a decade from now, being like, hey, there's no way we're not taking him in that redraft situation. But maybe both fan bases get satisfied, pause, in like a real way there with their 2 draft picks. But because they have such a high, like we're saying, again, Amen Thompson 4th overall pick, but has hit those levels of being a number 1 overall pick, I think, in terms of upside. Sengun, Jalen Green, Jabari, the pieces are there. Cam Whitmore. Who knows who is on the team going forward, chat, besides Amen Thompson, I guess. And I guess if there's a Amen Thompson for Giannis thing, I guess just in general, who knows who's going forward on the team. But they have a lot of maneuverability to do some stuff this offseason, to run it back, to get better with just the core that they have. Ime Udoka as well, just coaching up a young team going forward is, of course, not necessarily the worst place in the world to be if you are a Rockets fan. So I think this is another one, great top 4 team to just add a elite guy, but not, I think, in the mix to actually get Cooper Flagg and the number 1 overall pick. So, and Phoenix as well, like Phoenix maybe if we were doing pity rankings, which I think pity is definitely in the karma pie chart. As much as it might not seem like it is, there is a point where it's like, okay, we do feel bad for this team. Maybe we'll boost them up a little bit if there's a possibility to do so. But Houston, I think, is fine right now, and we don't want them getting Cooper Flagg anyways, so we're just going to put them at number 12 in the karma rankings. So it's not just all the karma rankings necessarily correlating with the actual odds. We want to make sure that we're taking every team into consideration here, regardless of the spot, chat. But I'm kind of thinking Portland is definitely a fun Cooper Flagg team if he goes there, because Portland does, like, again, we're saying the Rockets have a star level player. I mean, the Spurs have Wemby, the Rockets have Amen Thompson, and the Hawks have Ricochet. So everybody's got their star player or their number 1 overall pick that we've just mentioned that they kind of already have in the roster. Scoot is still a high level guy, and Portland has a lot of talent. So maybe getting them actual building main piece is a final piece that the league could actually hand them. So the core is set in place. They've been competitive. I feel like Chauncey Billups has handled things the right way, but I feel like maybe that's mostly this season, where in the past with some of the injury stuff, the Dame run, chat, I don't know if that was necessarily like the best version of putting out karma basketball at that point. But they do have such a fun young group of talent there right now that it would be nice to just interject a main piece into that group. So I'm hesitant, chat. I'm hesitant. But the Bulls are kind of in the same spot. Oh, chat, this could be a fun year for the Bulls to get the number 1 overall pick. The Karma rankings are screeching to a halt at this point. I don't know where to go, but I think let's go the Blazers, chat. The Blazers aren't going to get the number 1 overall pick. I think the league might think, like, let's just stack the Blazers with number 2 and number 3 picks and see what happens. Maybe the Blazers are like the Pistons of the West. So, I mean, the Pistons did get Cade Cunningham, and he was a number 1 overall pick as well. So, I don't know. Maybe next year, Portland is the year where they... Oh, excuse me, chat. That one was sitting in there for a second. I could feel that one building. But, yeah, anyways. Oh, yeah, Portland. Denny Advia, Cooper Flagg, Denny Advia, and Kamara is just a fun athletic combo that I would just like to see. So I almost feel like I want to cross the Blazers out. And there it is, chat. Move them back down the rankings. But I guess we can adjust it if we need to. If we make the case for a team in a little bit of a different spot a little bit later. But let's go. Again, Chicago at number 12. They finished the season kind of strong. Josh Giddey seemed like a nice piece. Matas seemed like a nice piece. So they just maybe are like in a maximize their roster type category. And maybe they don't quite. Because the 12 spot just seems like a large jump. I don't know what the large... I guess, did anybody ever get from 14 to 1 would actually, only be that'd be the most max that you could jump. But 11 to 1 has to be about the highest jump in NBA history. So they're gonna go back-to-back years and go even one up that the next year. So Chicago, they might just be outside the range, chat. Just outside the radar for the leap up into the number 1 overall pick, unfortunately. But Dallas at number 11, they're sitting right inside that range, chat. The problem is we've crossed off a bunch of the teams in front of them, so it's like, do they jump off some of these teams where it's like actually they started? Because the Raptors would be the last team with a 30-win season. So the Mavericks were almost a 40-win team. Almost! Yikes. They were from having Luka Doncic to being almost a 40-win team. And maybe going to be less than that this upcoming season. But does the league just look at the 30-win mark as like a tier? And like, okay, these teams in the 30-win mark, now we're comparing these teams, Portland to Dallas? Or the Raptors to Dallas, Toronto to Dallas? Because Toronto is from 7 to 1 is not that far of a jump. Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, they have a nice young but starting to emerge in their... I mean, RJ Barrett might already be at the peak of his powers, Chad. But starting to kind of get into those just emerging their peak years phase of their careers. And Cooper Flagg entering that mix at that time could be an interesting dynamic to throw into this mix. So that is a tough battle, chat, between Dallas and Toronto. You know what? Sorry, Brooklyn. Sorry, Brooklyn at number 6, chat, but I don't know if Brooklyn's going to win the number 1 overall pick. I think there was a definite case for it at one point in the season. Brooklyn might have, like, too much of a blank slate. Have some nice little trade pieces to have there, like Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, who else is even on this roster, chat? Oh, Zaire Williams, Cam Thomas, of course, but I think Cam Thomas is staying on the Nets or going to be jumping around and moving to a different team in free agency. But shout out to Cam Thomas. But Cooper Flagg in Brooklyn may be a little bit too little to work with, chat. I don't know. Let's take a look at the Brooklyn roster here. Brooklyn is making a strong push to be a little bit too high up the karma rankings. I think maybe a little bit, or I guess if we flipped it around, because we're unveiling it backwards. So a little bit lower down the karma rankings than maybe they wanted to be. So they'll have Claxton, Cam Johnson, D'Angelo Russell, D'Anthony Melton, Zaire Williams, Cam Thomas, Day'Ron Sharpe, Noah Clowney, Dariq Whitehead, Trenton Wofford, Keon Johnson, Maxwell Lewis. So there's a version of the team where you say, hey, you put Cooper Flagg with Maxwell Lewis, Jalen Wilson, Cam Thomas, and Cam Johnson. It's not a bad lineup. But if you put him with D'Angelo Russell, D'Anthony Melton, Noah Clowney, I kind of like Day'Ron Sharpe. I don't know. It's kind of it's just an iffy team right now in between. Like what are you doing, Brooklyn? It just kind of like get your team figured out, get a direction started, and then maybe we'll get something going. But again, maybe a top 4 pick for the Brooklyn Nets. But yeah, Chad, I honestly, it's just shout out to the Nets. I don't know if I want to see Cooper Flagg on the Nets, though. I'm not saying I don't want to see a star player on the Nets, so I'm not saying a hot take here like Brooklyn's not deserving of a star player. The second New York team can't handle it. Like, if you're going to have a star in New York, he's got to be on the Knicks. Like, you know, maybe that is a thing. I don't know, chat. But I just, at this current state of the Brooklyn roster, I just think that would be kind of a bummer, unfortunately, for Cooper Flagg if he got the number 1 pick. But it would be they're the last. Are they the most uninteresting team in the league? Is that what it is? Chat, the reverse. Is that Heineken? The reverse Heineken? The most uninteresting team in the league? The Brooklyn Nets? You know, Utah is not too far off, honestly. Utah's not. Is Utah going to make a sneaky run at not getting Cooper Flagg? The problem is they have Danny Ainge, and the league might want to give Danny Ainge another white guy. It is what it is. So if the Brooklyn Nets can hire Danny Ainge, then Brooklyn would move up the karma rankings, but Brooklyn's going to slot in right here, Chad. So we've got Brooklyn at 12, 11, 10, 9 in the karma rankings. Yikes, Chad. The number was 6 pick. Not necessarily saying they're sliding down to the 9th spot in the draft, but I think in terms of rating who's going to get the number 1 overall pick, I'd give him the 9th best karmic odds going into this, chat. And again, are we starting to get into more of the pity range? I don't know if this would be Brooklyn is a weird pity team as well too, because they're still kind of running off the after effects of the Durant, Kyrie, Harden combination and cleaning up from the trades of that. And they had Bridges and they traded him, and now they're really reset, and they're still trying to, again, like trade Cam Johnson and some of the other guys maybe as well too. So I don't know, a lot of confusing stuff going on in Brooklyn, where again, Dallas and even Philly now starting to enter the mix as a team. You know, Toronto still, we haven't put them down in the rankings as well too. Maybe Toronto goes here, chat. They're number 7 in the draft ranking, so if we put them at number 8 in the karma rankings, it wouldn't be so far off from their spot. So it wouldn't be saying that we're flipping them with San Antonio. Again, we have San Antonio as the worst karmic odds to win the lottery. So Raptors fans, we're not being biased there. We're not trying to move the Spurs up like a sneaky 1 spot. But maybe just looking at the rest, I don't know, Chad. Again, Scotty Barnes and Cooper Flagg, for some reason, I think could be a fun combination. So I feel good about Brooklyn where they're at. Maybe this is where Dallas goes, chat. Dallas over Toronto, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis. Chat. Okay, do we have to take a break and decide? I don't know, chat. I don't know. Utah? Maybe this is where Utah goes. Because again, I got to be honest, the main reason I think he goes to Utah is the white guy corollary. I think that it's just there's too much white guys pull. Go AO, chat. But you have the combination of Utah and Salt Lake City. I don't know if we make that a double combination, even though it's the same spot. But it's that country, chat, and it's Danny Ainge running the team. So there's too much aligning there. It's the Duke Blue Devils, obviously, of the NBA world, and maybe he goes there just because of that, chat. But let's actually, I was only half joking, chat. We do need to take a quick break, just in general. But don't worry, the Karma Rankings will return right after this. Sorry, Jazz fans. Is that what we decided, chat? Is that what it officially is? It was either the Jazz, the Raptors, the Mavs. What team, chat, deserves Cooper Flag the least? Because at this point in the karmic rankings, we got Spurs in reverse order, 14 down. Spurs, Hawks, Rockets, Blazers, Bulls, and Nets. And to be honest, in my heart of hearts, I think the Blazers should be over the Bulls and Nets, chat. So let's move it. Screw it. It's got to be an honest ranking. We are moving the Blazers, so it goes Spurs, Hawks, Rockets, Bulls, Nets, Blazers, and after that, it will be the team with that'd be crazy, chat. The team with the number 1 overall odds, but it's just another roster that's kind of bleak, and I know that's the point of having the number 1 overall pick is a bleak roster. And again, I think the thing about the Spurs roster is some of the supporting cast guys, maybe we were a little bit higher on some of their upside, not before Wembanyama got there, but again, it's just different timeline stuff. Again, it's 2 more seasons, and it was the question of what would these guys look like with the star talent around him, and maybe the star talent is not the fully developed star that is able to accentuate the skills in the right way of the talent around him, but regardless, you've seen that impact player injection to the roster, and it's like, okay, what is the supporting cast now around San Antonio? But again, going back into it, it made sense to inject him into that roster as well too, chat. But for Utah, as of right now, again, Lauri Markkanen, of course, is the big piece right now for the team still. John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Kenyon Martin Jr., Taylor Hendricks, Cody Williams, Keontae George, Svi Mikhailiuk, Johnny Jujang. So, I mean, chat, Walker Kessler, of course, as well. Oh, Isaiah Collier. Hood Schifino, and they still got some dead money on Westbrook, chat, as well, too. But, I mean, outside of Markkanen and Sexton is like maybe a trade piece, maybe Jordan Clarkson. Outside of them, as trade pieces. I don't know, do we want to send Cooper Flag to a team where like the roster is just going to be traded off and we don't know and all this stuff? Again, the blank slates are not bad, but there's just still so much uncertainty with the rosters that maybe we need to get the directions figured out even a little bit more before. Sorry, Utah, I know that this was the whole point, but make a choice. Do you want Markkanen and you get Markkanen and Cooper Flag, and you're like, okay, well, it's a good thing we kept Markkanen and Cooper Flag on his rookie deal, Markkanen on his deal. Like, the salaries work out between the two of the guys. But I don't know, Chad. I mean, Markkanen could be a guy if Cooper Flag was a 1 or a 2 or like a 1 that Markkanen could be a 2 next to him as well. So I get it. But the rest of it is just so still maybe uncertain about what that's going to look like going forward that, chat, I think we've talked ourselves into it. I think maybe in my heart of hearts anyway, sorry, chat, but sorry to the Jazz fans in the chat, but this is where they're going to slot in the rankings. And to be honest, I still would rather see Cooper Flag on the Blazers, but at some point the Jazz actually having the number one overall odds and the white guy corollary as well too might bump him back up the rankings. But for now, that's where they're going to get slotted in. So I feel like now it kind of starts to fall into place a little bit because we do have Toronto still on the board. Like we said, Brooklyn is off the board. Dallas is still on the board, chat. So now it really becomes a decision. And we could, really we're into the top 5 plus Toronto and Dallas at this point. So I guess, Utah is already off the board. So Washington, Charlotte, New Orleans, Philly, Toronto, and Dallas are still in the mix for the number one overall pick. I guess at this point, New Orleans is probably not going to get the number one overall pick, chat. To be honest, we probably should have put New Orleans up a little bit higher on this rankings, and we might actually do that, chat. We might actually do that. You know what? New Orleans is sneaky, like way up at the top. Because, and I know the jump, again, may be part of the reason that they could have higher odds of getting the number one overall pick, because they don't have that. They already have good odds. It's not that far for them to move up the rankings. But they've had number one overall picks before, and that, I think, point we just made also counteracts them, that they also already have the number 4 overall pick, so they don't have to move to have a really good pick. And they still have Zion. They have, Trey Murphy and DeJounte Murray and Herb Jones and a bunch, Jordan Hawkins and Missy this last year. Missy, Hawkins, Herb Jones, and Trey Murphy is a fun combination. And just, Zion is there too. And then whoever this number 4 overall pick is, like always with New Orleans, a nice roster of guys going forward. But they don't have to move up in the rankings to already secure that top 4 pick at all. So they're right on the verge of getting bumped out as well too, which is a little bit nerve-wracking. But so I guess, does nobody jump up into the top mix? Or it would have to be it'd have to be what, 3 teams jump up, 2 teams jump up into the top 4, and then they get bounced out. Or I guess if it just one team jumps up, so if the Bulls win the lottery, then Utah gets the number 2 pick, Washington gets, or do they draw the top 4? That's right. So they could draw Chicago, then Utah, Washington, Charlotte, or they could just draw New Orleans as well too, but they would get to know. I guess I still understand the lottery 99%, 98% at this point. Also the lottery percentages for us understanding it continuing to go down as well too. But New Orleans, I think, is sneaky not going to get the number 1 overall pick. Cooper Flag, we've seen him destroy too many number 1 overall picks in the past. The league's not gonna risk it with Cooper Flag again, chat. So sorry to our New Orleans fans. I think they're probably less likely than San Antonio, to be honest. With as unbiased as we were trying to be earlier by saying San Antonio has the least likely odds, I do think that, and this may be famous last words, chat, is New Orleans once again. I guess, but they also don't have Dave Griffin. So Dave Griffin's another sneaky. The league just likes giving him number 1 overall picks. So they should have fired him after the lottery, chat. Save him, get his lottery luck, and then fire him and get your new GM. But so we're moving the Pelicans to 14. Sorry, Pelicans, but I think you're still going to end up in the. You'll still be in the top 5. You'll be fine. Get a good player. But Pelicans, Spurs, Hawks is the new 14, 13, 12. For the Karma rankings. So the Jazz, I guess, move back down a spot as well too, chat. See, the rankings adjust and the rankings will work themselves out. So we've got Washington, Charlotte, Philly, Toronto, Dallas. Okay, let's go Toronto here, chat. Let's go the Raptors. I think we might be an official. I kind of like Cooper Flag on all these teams' territory, and I kind of like him on the Blazers as well. So, screw it, chat. We're moving the Blazers over the Jazz. The Jazz are back down 1 more spot. The Blazers are up another one. We're trying to be as honest as possible with this rankings. There's no reason to try to fake it and just be like, well, can we make the rankings unbiased? And then we're basically just replicating the lottery odds at that point. So we're moving the Blazers up. Move up over the Raptors as well, chat. Keep moving them. Keep moving them. Cooper Flag and Denny Advia. Let's get it going. I want to see it. So shout out to the Raptors for getting an official spot on the ranking, but you're still behind the Blazers. So there's the Blazers. Dallas at 11 may have to slot in at this point. The Blazers at 10 as well, too. That's a bit of a leap, chat. I'm not denying that. But Dallas at 11 is, I think, finally in this spot. So are we in the top 3 or 4 now, chat? We've got Washington, Charlotte, Philly, and Dallas left. So yeah, the top 4. So this might be, is this our Karma top 4 rankings of what the lottery should be? Dallas getting a top 4 pick. I mean, let's be honest, chat, though. It's just, how does the league look at it? Does the league look at it as we need to give them something to make up for the Cooper Flag, but do they need to get something to make up for the Doncic portion of what happened this offseason, or do they not deserve something because of what happened with Doncic? And maybe it is more on the second, but also Davis is still an interesting talent, and they won 39. Well, I guess we're back. We're talking. We're double talking a little bit, but I guess the idea of them getting a young talent next to one of those guys is not the most terrible idea in the world, and they don't have a ton of assets either way, so hey, here's a little something to keep you kind of floating afloat a little bit, where at least some of these other teams have trades to make and some
young guys stashed away to one of these guys maybe develops into something as well too. But Dallas may get thrown a little bone here, pause, by the league at some point to say, hey, I get the Luka Doncic thing wasn't ideal, probably not the best move in the world, but here's a little something to make up for it. You guys will be fine. Young player, rookie deal, reset. You got some of the old guys still around, and you'll be okay. So Dallas fans, hopefully EJ Edgecombe is able to satisfy. Hey, yo, what are we talking about here, chat? Is able to, satisfy your basketball needs, I guess, in place of what Luka Doncic left. So we've got Charlotte, Washington, and Philly as the top 3 left. And I think Philly is a sleeping giant here as well, too, chat. Dallas is a sleeping giant. Portland is a sleeping giant. And Philly, I think, is a sleeping... Philly is top 5, so they're not too crazy. They still have double-digit odds to get the number 1 overall pick. So 10.5 is still pretty good. 42% to jump up into that top 4. They need to stay in the top 6 to be protected, so they can move down 2 spots. It's a little bit of a risky situation, but I think as much as you would look at it and go like, hey, maybe the Embiid thing and the Paul George thing were not ideal. Maybe those guys didn't handle it like 100%. I think it's injuries. Like, you got to deal with it as you can. But maybe they are a team that needs a new injection of life, and maybe it gives you just the interestingness factor as well too. Like we were saying, with some of these teams, is like in just the draft and then the offseason, the greater NBA landscape. The interesting factor of that is maybe something to take into consideration as well, where San Antonio can still be an interesting team in the landscape of the NBA, not just in them being a competitive team, but in the how do they make the league an interesting offseason and entertainment product or whatever. They can still be and will be a mover team in the offseason. They'll be in the news. They'll be an active team, even if they don't get the number 1 overall pick. Philly might not necessarily be in that world. It'll be a interesting offseason, like, hey, let's get Embiid back, let's get Paul George back, and let's cross our fingers and see what happens this next year. And maybe stuff comes available, and it's just a lot of maybe we're able to do something with those guys going forward. But if you do end up just like randomly with the number 1 overall pick, and now you get Cooper Flagg, you're looking at a team with Cooper Flagg, Tyrese Maxey, and Jared McCain. And all of a sudden, that's like sneaky one of the best young trios in the league all of a sudden. And, you still have the Paul George and Embiid salary numbers that you may have to work with building out the team. But at that point, maybe you're sort of willing, or your nervousness, your anxiety to maximize the values in a trade for those guys is a little bit less, where maybe you would want to, maybe now you'd be trying to trade those guys at the peak of their values, whereas if you actually got a guy like Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper in the mix, then maybe you're willing to trade them for what is more likely, what you're more likely to get for him now, if that makes sense. Where I still think you get a haul for Embiid. Make no mistake, you're not getting a haul, but maybe you take 2 less picks back because then again, the importance of the salary cap becomes more than just the mystery of now we have the number. It's we need the number because we have these things we have to do around Cooper Flagg. And again, the Maxey McCain combo of that backcourt cannot be slept on as like the league looking at that, and in Philly as a major market team, as something that the league might want to help boost going forward. Because Maxey as well too has proven himself a star player, and McCain is a star as well. McCain's got the TikTok thing going for him. He's a presence outside the NBA, so that's a team that is a marketable personality team outside the fact that it's in Philly as well. And you just put Cooper Flagg in that lineup, and there's going to be eyeballs there, and there is going to be attention paid. That's going to be pretty impressive. So I don't know if you guys hear the applause from the Indiana fans remaining, because a bunch of them were going to take the 40-point lead as an advantage to leave early. But the Cavs, they did cut it to a respectable 20 points. So if you guys bet the halftime live line of Cleveland plus 32.5,
then I mean you cruised pretty easily to that one. But it's crazy that a 20-point game. You're like, that's not even gonna not even gonna speak to what this game looked like. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Up 3-1, 95% of the series they win only 13 times in NBA history, and even that feels a little bit lower than it was in the past. And with the way Cleveland played tonight, it's just the type of the performance to go, can a team that played like that play the level that they need to win 3 games in a row? Like you think about Cleveland that won 3 games in a row versus the Warriors back in the day, and they didn't have this game. They didn't have games where they played, they didn't play the 3 best games in NBA history. And it's like, oh man. I mean, it became a historic run, and Kyrie and LeBron were awesome, of course, but it was that. So I mean, could Mitchell and Mobley and Garland could Mitchell and Garland just go off scoring these next 3 games and carry him to 3 victories in a row? Sure. But again, Kyrie and LeBron didn't have this performance against the Warriors where they got cleaned up by 40 points at one point in the game. There was maybe some games where you're like, oh yeah, this Warriors team is definitely better, but I don't think anything to this level, chat. And the ones that he did lose to the Warriors at this level, LeBron, I feel like it was after Kyrie got hurt or after, Durant got into the lineup as well too. But Washington, Charlotte, and Philly are the last 3 teams left. Let me make sure I have this right, chat. 14 is the Pelicans, 13 Spurs, 12 Hawks, 11 Rockets, 10 Bulls, 9 the Nets, 8 the Jazz, 7 the Raptors, 6 the Blazers, 5 the Mavericks, chat. So we've got 4 teams left. Who am I leaving out? We got Washington, Charlotte, Philly, and because the Spurs have 2 picks. So yeah, there's only gonna be 13 teams in this lottery. So okay, perfect, chat. Yeah, we are. So okay, let me read. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect, chat. We are right on pace to get these lottery rankings perfect. So Charlotte also as well, a fun young core for him to go to. And, Washington, like we were saying, may be viewed as an organization that he may not want to go to, but as a roster, it's not a bad roster at all. Not at all. Him and Sarr is a fun combination. Some of those backcourt guys, Bub Carrington, what is he, chat? That's a real interesting player. Jordan Poole in a different role, who knows? Chris Middleton as a veteran on that team. Cooper Flagg and Alex Sarr, Cooper Flagg, Chris Middleton. Is Valanciunas still there? Let's see, chat. The problem is it's just the Washington franchise. And do you want to risk putting a star player in Washington at this point, chat? I don't know if that's necessarily a city of stars. So I don't know if just that would necessarily jinx Cooper Flagg to not be the most effective version of himself if he went to this team. But you would have Chris Middleton, Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart on this team as well. I don't know if Smart's going to contribute to the level of those guys necessarily, but Smart's still a locker room guy to have around. Anthony Gill, Rashawn Holmes, Jalen McDaniels. Yeah, Jordan Poole. Champagny was nice this year. You still got Kispert. Keshawn George is really interesting. Koulibaly. Vooch. They've got the other Vucevic, chat. AJ Johnson. And then Carrington we mentioned as well too. So where's the positional grouping here, chat? Let's take a look at this real quick and see. A lot of guards on the team for the Wizards at this point. Centers, Jan Mahimny still, I guess, is he now officially a free agent, chat? 38 years old, finally. 2025, Jan Mahimny's going to hit free agency. Wow. Rashawn Holmes, and then, so you basically got Vucevic, Tristan Vucevic, who you'll probably want to keep around. He seemed like a interesting offensive guy to have in the mix. So maybe some center help you'll need. So that might be an interesting, do they get Malich in the draft if they don't get Cooper Flagg or something? But it's just a fun roster for him to go to. So Charlotte, I mean, it feels like between Charlotte, Philly, and the Wizards is LaMelo. LaMelo's not the the biggest star player between the three teams, because Embiid's obviously, when he's right, the biggest star. But I guess the question is, going forward, are we getting the same Embiid, and how does that affect, again, not his star power, he's still going to always be Embiid, but the star power impact corollary as well too, where LaMelo Ball can be a star level player in his own right, but still able to impact games at a higher level than Joel Embiid, chat, which is kind of crazy to say. Like, we'll just have to see going forward. And Maxey is a great star in his own right as well too, like we're saying. But LaMelo is got some name value, and maybe that actually doesn't help the Cooper Flag case in what we're saying with these three teams, where maybe it's like they've got a name value guy. Brandon Miller is a great young talent. There's a great young roster there where maybe they just, again, added an Ace Bailey or a Dylan Harper, and they don't necessarily need the full Cooper Flag boost to continue to trend upward. And a little bit of a newer ownership group. They do have definitely things, I think, cleaned up in a good way, and have, maybe are headed for a competent run that Charlotte hasn't necessarily seen in a front office standpoint. But have they earned the right over, have the Wizards earned the right for whatever? Have they earned anything, chat? But do we necessarily say that they've earned more karma at this point than the Wizards front office in a heated debate? That might be a first take segment tomorrow, to be honest. I don't know if we're giving the producers any ideas here, but Philly can't be counted out either. Philly cannot be counted out. Washington seems like the most logical. They're the number 2 pick. Again, Utah seems a little too bland. A white guy in Utah, I got a white guy in Washington, chat, but I don't know. It just seems a little too bland. We need a little more seasoning on the Jazz, I guess. So the Wizards maybe can handle Cooper Flag with that roster, and again, those pieces are there. Like, it seems like Sarr is there going forward. Carrington is gonna, George. It may not be like, is Sarr miles of, I think Sarr is probably, I would definitely take Sarr over a lot of guys in the Jazz roster, Chad. Sarr's a great talent, and all the other guys we were mentioning. But it's just also that we don't know going forward, like we're saying, what that roster is going to look like. And the Wizards, at least you're like, okay, we know some of the young talent that you're inserting Cooper Flag into the lineup with. Some of those veterans that are in place as well, too, at least for the one season, the half-season mark, and then you trade Chris Middleton. You're not making a playoff push, so just a veteran to get him into the league, get him established, show him the ropes. Cooper Flag will probably have some pretty good rhythm by the trade deadline in February of next year. So Chris Middleton, his job will be done, chat. They can, they can trade him off, and then it'll be fine. Chris Middleton can go to a good team and contribute there. So as much as, again, for Charlotte, as much as we love Charlotte, and the Cooper Flag Charlotte jersey would be kind of sick as well, too. A flag and a ball? Hey, yo, chat. Be crazy. And I think it'd be a really fun lineup to put him into. But I think we might have to put the Hornets next on this ranking. Just because, again, I think it really goes down to the fact that the Wizards are, I think, more... If we're just going karma... See, the Sixers are throwing me off because I'm trying to think of all these three teams together. But if we were just going the karma rankings between the 2 and the 3... I think they would give the edge. Again, even though it's the same odds, I think they would give the slight edge to the Wizards in that situation and let Charlotte get the number 2 overall pick. But I could be wrong, Chad. I could be wrong. But for some reason, there's just something about... Even though I do like Charlotte's... I think I would take Charlotte's core at this point. Brandon Miller, Saloon, like we were saying, even LaMelo, with, if you keep him on the roster or trade him, whatever, just the LaMelo Ball piece is interesting as well, too. Miles Bridges piece is a fun piece, but the Wizards roster is right there, Chad. It's right there. Who am I missing from the Hornets as another young talent? I feel like there's an obvious one that I'm not mentioning. Saloon and Miller, Chad. Obviously the 1-2 combination that you want to have going forward. Pause. Trey Mann. Oh, Mark Williams? Yeah, Mark Williams, obviously. Still there, Chad. Didn't actually get traded. No cap holds on anybody that I was thinking of. So, Mark Williams is a center. You have Mark Williams, Cooper Flag, Brandon Miller, Saloon. That's a 4-man lineup, chat. And we know Cooper Flag's got the two-way ability.
Ooh, that really just that piqued my interest. I'm not gonna lie, that really piqued my interest. And you got LaMelo Ball. I mean, he could definitely be chaos in that lineup, good or bad. But the good version of LaMelo Ball as a guard with, I mean, Miller's basically a 2 that can play, 2, 3, maybe even 4. So you got LaMelo, Miller, Saloon, Flag as like a whoever's the 3 or 4 there, and then Mark Williams is the 5. It's a pretty interesting group versus, like we were saying, Cooper Flag. I guess Vucevic right now he feels like more like a 6-man center type guy, heat check guy. Maybe he could be a Porzingis Final 5 type, but he does feel like he would have sort of a 6-man-ish type role on the team. So Cooper Flag, Sarr, Carrington, George, and then I guess like we're saying just right now Vucevic until maybe there's like a starter or he gets the defensive thing a little bit more consistent as well too, chat. So I don't know, I might have been wrong. It's something about the Flag and Alex Sarr combination that I think Flag could really elevate Sarr's game in a way, and I just want to see that happen because I have a lot of value. Him as the number 2 pick, I would really see him succeed because of the way the dialogue was built around that draft and those players. And Ricochet as well, too, as a number 1 overall pick. But, again, Ricochet was able to step into Atlanta where, I think Ricochet is going to be a really good pro and maybe even be like he might be like a number 2 on a title team at some point. Like, I wouldn't be shocked, honestly. He showed enough in his rookie year and I guess has that number 1 overall pick labeled to him as well that I can project maybe a couple extra elements to his game as just like, oh, he was the number 1 overall pick and put him up to that level as well too. But again, he showed a lot in his rookie season. So I get number 2 on a title team is, crazy. Maybe number 2 on a team that makes the finals is what I'm saying. A number 2 man on a team that is in the title game is what I'm saying. Maybe. Or Final 4 team conference. We're not trying to, walk it back, but he could be a top 2 guy, I think, on a really, really high level team like that. But immediately gets to just be like the 4th or 5th man on every lineup that he goes into, whereas that's just not the case for Sarr. So as we know for the development of guys, that's just going to set Ricochet up for potentially more success in the future as a byproduct of that. And as this draft was such a picked apart top of the draft, like I just would really like to see success for some of those top guys. And, Sarr is definitely one of them as well too. But so if we were debating between the Hornets and the Wizards, that means we're putting the Sixers at 1. Cooper Flag to the Sixers. But I got to be honest, Chad. I'm not saying, I don't know, trust the process maybe? Trust the process, but Cooper Flag, Tyrese Maxey, and Jared McCain is a fun combination. And the instant 5-man lineup that the instant young 5-man lineup, AO, that the Hornets could throw out there is a fun opportunity as well. But the now and then possibilities with the Sixers is interesting. Cooper Flag just immediately with Embiid and Paul George is like, whoa, chat, is that a team? Or is it this new young team, young era for Philly? Now Embiid can be set free to a new team. Paul George can be set free to a new team, and they can build around those couple of young guys. And Quentin Grimes, Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, and Cooper Flag. I mean, you put Embiid in that lineup. Let's go, chat. Let's go. Embiid's back. MVP Embiid. Cooper Flag's going to get MVP and Embiid. Magic Johnson to Embiid's Kareem. Let's do it, chat. I'm in. Pause. Ayo. Ayo, chat. But I'm in on the concept. Ayo. Sixers number 1. And then a two-way tie between Wizards, Hornets at 3. So let me rewrite this out here, chat, with some cohesiveness, because I have the teams written down all over the place. Mainly the Blazers, just moving up like 17 spots in this ranking. But I just, at least for myself anyways, because I guess I'm not going to like overhead projector the notebook onto the screen and then all of a sudden you guys are, seeing the notes. But just to see it laid out in a nice, clean ranking, at least one more time, because clean up the ranking, look at it again, chat. And we may, and let's make sure we get the Blazers in the right spot here. We may, want to change something again. I'm not saying that we're about to unveil the final rankings. And I guess it doesn't matter which way we put the Wizards and the Hornets because they're tied. So we'll do a little slash chat. Wizards and Hornets. And then for right now, the Sixers number 1. So chat, let's see what this is right here. 14-1. Pelicans, Spurs, Hawks, Rockets, Bulls, Nets, Jazz, Raptors, Blazers, Mavs, Hornets, Wizards tied, and then the Sixers. Now, see, the problem is the other problem with the Hornets and Wizards them being tied is if I flip the Sixers to 3, now we don't have a definite number 1 overall pick. And I couldn't decide between the Hornets and Wizards. So maybe it's like it goes to the point like we're saying, hey, Cooper Flag can go anywhere. Charlotte, Washington, it doesn't matter. We love it all, chat. Pause. But I'm moving the Blazers up over the Mavs. It is what it is. I'm sorry. Cooper Flag and Anthony Davis would be fun for one season, but the Mavs, they don't get the number 1 pick. We should probably move them even way lower down the rankings. Maybe even over the Raptors. But in my heart, I would, joke about it, but I would rather see Flag and Anthony Davis than Cooper Flag and Scotty Barnes. Yeah, Chad, I'm still pro Anthony Davis at this point. So let's give him one more opportunity with Cooper Flag to just see what he could do as a main guy in a playoff series with some more help around him. So let's keep him right there. The problem is that's more of are you giving the Mavs the number 1 overall pick for the next couple of years or for right now? But the league does go in these 4 to 5 year cycles. You can give these other teams number 1 picks in the future. Make no mistake, the Raptors will be back, chat. I mean, Masai Ujiri, if he sticks around, he can build good teams, but they'll probably be back. So this does not feel too shabby at all. And I think the Blazers were kind of good where they don't necessarily need to jump up. They're not falling apart where it's like, oh man, is there any chance we can jump up the rankings that high? Chicago, same kind of way, making a push to the playoffs sort of at the end. So I kind of like this, chat. Cooper Flag to the Sixers, the Wizards, the Hornets, or the Mavs. That would be our Mount Rushmore of Cooper Flag teams. You know what? Actually, I read that out loud, and that sounds right. I would like that. Hey, yo, pause. Whoa. But I would be okay with those destinations. The Hornets and Wizards tied as the rebuilding teams that make sense. The traditional number 1 overall picks, both of them, again, tied for the number 1 actual odds. So sorry to the Jazz, but it'll be one of those one of those 2 teams leaping you. Lock that in right now. And the Sixers and the Mavs kind of tied as the teams that fell apart, need a bit of a reset life, and could, again, still use the young talent, but be a little bit more competitive right away if they got Cooper Flag into the mix potentially. And Cooper Flag and Tyrese Maxey would be too much fun, chat. Too much fun. So there we go. The 76ers. Not the year that you had thought the karma rankings would work in your favor, but you still got Tyrese Maxey, so I think that is enough as of right now for keeping him high up in the karma rankings. But let's take one more quick break, chat, and then we will quickly recap the Thunderbolts movie that we saw this weekend. The MCU, it's back, but is it back? Coming up next.
Okay, chat. The Thunderbolts, Marvel. It is returned to theaters. It was in theaters earlier this year with Captain America, Winter Soldier, or not Winter Soldier, Captain America, A Brave New World. Chat. I don't know. Is that a Moana song or is that the name of the new Marvel movie that came out? But unfortunately, we did not see that one. So I guess cancel us now, chat. But we'll just blame it on the fact that it was winter and we were just like, we don't want to go to the theaters, but it is what it is. We'll watch it in Disney Plus when it drops. It also didn't necessarily get the kind of momentum that was like, you need to go see this, because again, we're reviewing this movie a little bit later. It's not like this movie just dropped this weekend, so it took time for us to get to the theaters. I should say spoiler warning as well too. Spoilers if you're worried about that kind of thing for whatever MCU stuff we might spoil going forward. But yeah, we will be of course talking about plot points and things that happen and people and stuff. So events, the movie will be spoiled, of course. But yeah, and this movie is like the 30-some movie for Marvel. So I mean, at this point, chat, it's not even like a franchise anymore. I mean, it is obviously a film studio, but I mean, Universal doesn't release a movie, and we're like, this is the 7,000th movie in the Universal cinematic movie franchise, which would be crazy if like every Paramount Plus picture movie, and not the streaming service, but the studio from back in the day, both kind of say, every Paramount, I guess the studio from back in the day was not called Paramount Plus, but every Paramount movie in history has some common through line would be insane. But it's not like they're titled the 1200 movie by this day, but we get it. There is again some supposedly common through line through the MCU, but like we were saying on the last live stream, I think they've gotten a little bit too bogged down with that in a way where that became the focus of the movies. The focus of the movies became, how do we tie the movies into the larger MCU, versus the focus of the movies being, how do we make a great movie? How does this movie provide value into, and it was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the universe, and for however you want to view cinema in Hollywood, if you're in the Scorsese camp of things or not, chat, but it was a cinematic universe. It was a universe about bringing, of course, the Marvel characters to life, but it was a movie about bringing good cinema. It was a universe about creating good movies, and who knows if they took for granted them making good movies, if it's just like, did they get lazy, not scouting for talent, but like if we're making a sports comparison, did they get lazy as like a scout, and it's like, we can develop any prospect into a guy, we'll turn any movie can be a hit, any character be like, who knows what exactly the thought processes were and the creative people shifting around and what actually happened that led the MCU to the, I mean, again, we can call it what it is, chat, a little bit of a spiral that it was. I mean, at the end of the day, the box office numbers for a lot of the movies were really good, still really successful, still accomplishing, I guess, that ultimate goal of what you needed to accomplish. But of course, critically, the momentum in our hearts, just the overall hype of the MCU, where the MCU was debated about as cinema because for as much as people didn't like it, it was the forefront of Hollywood. And now it's just a thing it's just a franchise that exists, which was really the stark difference for this movie, I think. And of course, this year, the last couple of years, I think, once Marvel kind of pulled the plug and was like, okay, this year, last year, the only movie they released was Deadpool Wolverine. And when they just decided to take a break from the MCU, I think they realized at that point the momentum had died. But, and it still feels a little bit larger than like a Fast and Furious franchise, but it still is kind of on that level. And again, just the fan base for it is massive, but that's what it is. It's more of a, just, hey, the fan base collected is so big at this point that just the cultural impact of the Marvel movies is the same sort of way. But the reviews for this one were really favorable. The stuff was, and I wasn't like reading reviews, but when they were running the trailers for it, chat, the pop-up advertisement cutout word things that they were putting on there, favorable clip outs from the reviews they were posting. And the Rotten Tomatoes score was pretty decent for it. Like a very honest Rotten Tomatoes score. I think it's like an 88 or something like the high 80s on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's not like oh, the MCU is back with its best installment ever at like a 97%. The Thunderbolts have crushed it. But it's not like, oh, another superhero movie, formulaic, blah, 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 make it in the 50s where it's just, it gets washed away. Because I think that also becomes a problem with some of these MCU movies. And I don't know if it'll be, it's not the problem with this movie, but it will be the interesting thing with the quality of this movie. Because as I'm watching this movie, and again, shout out to the Champ Quinn, and well, I guess not again, but we should say shout out to the Champ Quinn, shout out to Billy Buckets for dragging us along, chat. And it was definitely worth the experience in the theater, definitely worth the time. It was a great watch. But as I'm sitting there watching the movie, it's like, okay, again, this is clearly a really great movie, but what am I is this movie suffering from the fact that, again, the MCU has put out such high quality movies, and what will like the instant life of this movie be versus the rewatch life of this movie as well too, chat? Because this is an interesting one that I think would be interesting to like almost adjust the Disney Plus release time to it as well too, to kind of help capture the sort of in-moment momentum that it might have and any rewatchability factor. This is what we talked about before too, chat, with if you go see the movie in the theater, you should get some kind of code to watch it on streaming. But I should be able to watch this again like right away and build on that momentum, because again, shout out to the boys, chat, but when we were right before we were going into the theater to watch this movie, we were, of course, you got to pregame the movie a little bit, chat. You got a couple of songs, maybe in the car beforehand. And one of the songs, I was asking them what they thought about Nokia, because I was, I've just been really thinking about this song a lot lately, chat, because we have been bumping it a little bit, and I can't decide if it's because the song is actually like it's not, a great song, but is it a really, really good song? Or is it a good song by an artist that we really like and we're really familiar with? And if we're going to be bumping, it's not a mid song either. Like, it's a really, really good song. It's really, really good production. I think it's really solid production all the way throughout, catchy flows and stuff. Obviously it tracks for a hit song in the moment. And this movie clearly tracks for a hit movie, like great movie right now to go see in theaters and to go to experience in the moment. But how will this age as like a greater piece in the MCU? And I think they really did an interesting job of setting themselves up in that way. Because you think like, how will Nokia age as a hit in Drake's library? I think the one thing that it does have going, not the one thing, but one of the things that it does have going for it, again, the production, like that Nokia sample is so unique, not just for Drake, but for, again, the hip hop catalog, for our playlists in general, that it is a production unique enough that might be it, like that the uniqueness of that production might have legs in a way. Like, I don't think it's going to be like a dance monkey annoying production like 5 years from now. Like, we might go back to this as like, yeah, this was actually a fun thing that he did with this sample and how this was all sort of cut together. But it may be a song as well too that in 5 years, just because it's Drake's catalog, may get lost in the shuffle of like some of Drake's own songs, where he has other songs that may not be songs in the conversation in terms of like the lyrics or whatever. For like, is Hotline Bling the greatest song of all time? If we were is it Sing About Me? I guess we're comparing Drake and Kendrick again, but what's like a great lyrical song? Is it The World Is Yours by Nas? Like, is it one of those type of, if we're ranking the greatest hip hop songs of all time? Like, it definitely crossed the line as a massive hit and is one of the most impactful of all time. But what kind of legs does it have? And I think it is that song that you still go back to as well too. And you're like, oh yeah, this, even though it was overplayed in the moment, like, this is still really, really good. And I think, again, Nokia feels a little bit more than like a Hotline Bling, I think, than like maybe like a God's Plan or something like that. But I do still like going back to God's Plan. Is not a bad song to go back to as well too, even though, again, sort of overplayed in the moment. But is it I'm Upset, chat? See, I don't go back to the Scorpions album enough. But is it I'm Upset that I can't believe I would not know the name of that hit. from back in the day. And then what's the other one, chat, that the... Because I don't even know these songs. There's the Kiki, Do You Love Me one, and then there's the... Because I'm Upset's like, I'm upset. 1,000 of my head. I think that's that one, chat. See, yeah, but I don't even... chat, I need to revisit Scorpion on the YouTube, I guess. So Drake doesn't actually accidentally end up in our top 5 again this year. No, shout out to Drake. But again, for this Thunderbolts movie, I think it is, if we're looking at, especially, the recent movies that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has put out, a really high quality movie. But how does it age up if you're like, because the thing becomes as well too, if I'm going to go back and rewatch a Marvel movie, what am I going back and rewatching it for? And not to just automatically compare this to just a movie that came, because again, it's been around for a long time. So even movies that were dropping, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been around for 20 years. So it was established a decade in, and those movies have now been out a decade. Winter Soldier's been out for a decade, and that was a movie that really did elevate the MCU as well too into a whole new realm. But that whole era of movies is a decade ago as well too. So it's like those, we're comparing it against movies that have proven replay value. But I guess we're trying to figure out how this movie will last. But you go, how does this not just as a movie hold up, but as an MCU experience? What does this provide in terms of maybe there's storyline plots here, but how is this story additive to the MCU as a type of story, as a character arc, as a, the action set pieces, the beats of the story, and all those different things? And I think Thunderbolts really thrives in a lot of those ways. And I think that was one of the things that really stood out as a thing that it really did well. And a reason to want to go back to this movie, just in terms of the larger MCU scale of things, is it does feel like a newer story, a newer take on this type of story. And I've actually, on the second screen chat, we threw Black Widow on for reasons that we may explain a little bit later. Plus, it's a fun movie to go back and rewatch. But I remember in the moment, when we were discussing that movie as well too, with our friends, one of the things that they were talking about was they felt like maybe they did a little bit of a disservice to Black Widow and some of the storyline stuff, because they felt like it had copied a lot of the beats of the Winter Soldier movie. And, Black Widow is literally in that movie as well too. So it's like, if you want to watch that story and you literally getting the same, she's not in the same role, but she's also in that movie. Like, Winter Soldier is just an objectively a better movie than Black Widow. And Black Widow hits a lot of these similar beats. So maybe in terms of the replay value, the rewatchables, what do they call it? Market correction. Like, Black Widow got market corrected by a movie that came out before it, I guess, in a way. But if that's even possible, chat. But the replay value, it's like, if you have to choose one, you're probably going to end up going back to the Winter Soldier versus the Black Widow. But this feels like there is not really a story in the MCU along these lines. And maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm a little rusty with some of the MCU stuff. Like, there's team ups, and again, spoilers, chat. I don't know when I'm gonna reveal the certain spoilers, because I want to make sure I give enough spoiler warnings ahead of time. But ultimately we get to a place at the end of this movie that we've been to in a way before with other superheroes. But again, the beats of this movie feels unique for a Marvel movie and this version of a team up movie. And to be honest, I feel like this version of a team up, the darker sort of thrown together anti-hero team, again, we're talking about its uniqueness in the MCU, but there is a lot of similarities as well too with the Suicide Squad that dropped in the DC universe. But even that movie is a little bit different in how the team gets assembled. So I guess I don't know if we're going to start talking about the plot of the movie here, but this version of the team up movie where the team is accidentally assembled, I guess more so because this almost has a Joker-esque moment in the movie where, do I want to get into the plot of the movie now though? Well, let me save the plot of the movie for a second, because again, I do want to give it props. I do want to continue to give the MCU props for giving us just another high quality theater viewing experience, chat, because it feels like even still for me, I was going for this movie obviously based on the fact that this was the past cachet of like, I'll just give the MCU another chance. And like I'm saying, I was kind of holding off as well too to get the good reviews and like the approval from the other people to be like, yeah, this is actually a movie, or not approval, but like the movie gets the stamp of approval of like, yeah, this is actually worth your time to go see, and don't have to wait for the Disney Plus, get in the moment, watch all the stuff. And as it felt like maybe there was a couple of moments where like you could have taken 90 seconds out here and 90 seconds out there. And if this movie had honestly been like an hour 45-ish, I think this could have even climbed up a little bit of the levels of the MCU, and maybe if a little bit of the ending was a little bit stronger as well too, this really could have strengthened the movie. But I guess, yeah, what are we doing, chat? We can just talk about what happened in the movie, because there is like a Joker-esque sequence in the movie where in the beginning of The Dark Knight, of course, Joker has the team of guys assembled, but he secretly gives each guy in the team a mission to, I guess, spoiler warning for The Dark Knight if you haven't seen The Dark Knight, but he gives the guys, of course, the mission to take out each other. So one by one, it's like this guy kills the next guy, but then that guy has to kill that guy, and then they'll just all eliminate each other by the end of the mission. And that's how the Thunderbolts are assembled, is the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character, of course, who I think like low-key one of the best names in the MCU, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, which the initial joke in the courtroom I don't think was quite a 10 out of 10. The secretary of, now you see, what did she say? Because she's getting impeached, right, to start the movie. So hot start for Allegra Fontaine. But the guy running the impeachment committee calls her Miss Fontaine, and she says, no, it's Miss DeFontaine. And she goes, that guy over there is the Secretary of Defense. You wouldn't call him the Secretary of Fence. And again, that joke, not quite a 10 out of 10, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus is incredible in this movie. And if anybody's going to at least get anything out of that delivery, she got about as much out of that line as you could. So, and I guess in general, in terms of the quality of the movie as well, too, I think the beats of the story were really good. The action was really good. And at times, the writing was really good as well, too. I think a lot of the story and the themes were really kind of laid out there, which is not a bad thing, Chad. I mean, and again, the tone of the movie is just a little bit darker as well, too. So that's just going to overshadow some of the darker, it's going to set you in the mood for some of these darker themes as well, too, the whole time. But some of the dialogue and some of the writing is, and not to say that, characters directly laying out their emotions is a bad thing, but some of it is a little bit direct and a little bit on the nose with some of the conversations and dialogue there. But for the most part, again, it's really, really solid. Really, and it's not like the conversations that they're having aren't worth having. Like the overall principles that are being addressed in the movie are great things. And again, unique. It's a very mental health focused movie. So very unique movie for the MCU as well, too, to be like, this is what the final themes are. Because I think a lot of the MCU for even its peak days had a villain problem, and maybe there was like some third act storyline issues that you would get involved into in the MCU as well. So again, there's movies that are start to finish just great MCU movies that you can compare this to. Oh, we're getting the one Black Widow completing the suicide mission, chat. I guess spoiler alert for Black Widow if you haven't seen her yet. Oh, the self-inflicted. I guess it's not like she was doing it. The one guy was controlling her, but that's tough. Moment of silence for the Black Widows, chat. They've been through a lot. But I guess I can't believe we didn't even shout out the mothers to start the chat. Cancel me now. We're 2.5 hours in. It's Mother's Day, and NBA, I've totally got us distracted. Shout out to all the mothers in the chat. Hey, yo, it's Mother's Day, so respectfully, shout out, chat. Don't get mad. Don't beat us up on the streets. We're not making moves here, chat. We're just respectfully saying thank you to everybody out there. Great moms, moms, grandmas. Fortunately, for our family, we're fortunate enough to have a mom. We have a mom, chat. Spoiler alert, but wonderful mom, amazing mom. Shout out Mama Morrow, of course, and then. Both of our grandmas still alive at this point as well, too. It's just an amazing thing to have as well, too, Chad. So, amazing people. Shout out to them as well. But, they've been through a lot. The Black Widows, Chad. They've been through a lot. So shout out to the, and I guess, you know, shout out to the Black Widows on Mother's Day as well, too, chat. Maybe a tough day for them for a different reason. But, yeah, what were we saying? Oh, yeah, so I guess there was that scene where they get to, like, Valentina sends them all to eliminate each other, but then they kind of figure that out, and then the rest of the movie is them working together to try to stop Valentina. But again, they prioritized the movie itself, and the movie had a chat. Do I just have like a? I feel like I have a friggin' booger just right exposed, chat. It is what it is. You know what? If we do, oh wait, not anymore, chat. Not anymore. Oh, yikes! Wait a second. Okay, you don't know what happened. Hey, yo, chat. We're back, but going and visit. Speaking of the Predator, going to cloaking device there for a second, chat. But anyways, what were we saying? Oh yeah, they were focusing on the quality. This movie, there is some, again, spoiler alert, some post-credit stuff that is obviously going to connect you to the larger MCU. But you're not watching this movie thinking, how is it going to connect to the bigger MCU? What's the supervillain going to be like? Is Kang going to be in this? Is there a multiversal thing? It's just this group of heroes has a mission to accomplish, or a threat, you know, whatever. They have to get from point A to point B, and how are they going to work together to figure this thing out? And those are the simple formulas that have worked for the MCU time and time again. Like, think about the movies that we've gotten. And again, like, as much as I'm still sort of debating between this as like a really good and great movie, and because great, you know, you start throwing around terms. There's even different levels of terms for great for great movies. So I guess we're really going spoilers alert now, chat, because there's going to be some spoilers in here. But I guess we're really looking for more the list of MCU films. Yeah, here we go, chat. Just to remember all the later films. Like, I think still my personal favorite movie that we've gotten since Endgame, which would be the last, or Far From Home, I guess, would be the last in the Infinity Saga, technically. So yeah, if we were talking multiverse saga or whatever, I would say that Shang-Chi is still my favorite of the multiverse saga movies. Because again, you think about uniqueness in the MCU as well too. The set pieces, the, you know, the real the martial arts that I think are showcased in that as well too. The fighting styles, the 10 rings as a weapon. I kind of like the storyline as well too. I mean, I think it works for just a nice, easy, rewatchable movie as well. So this is still the one that I would go back to the most. If you just had which multiverse movie would you want to watch, it would be Shang-Chi. But to be honest, Thunderbolts would be second. And if you think of the other hits they've had as well too, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is sort of running off the fumes of the Infinity Saga. And Deadpool Wolverine, it's sort of its own, and I still haven't even really seen this movie, but again, it's still, I imagine, sort of more of its own separate thing. I mean, you're getting Wolverine introduced, but that's another reason that it's so successful, is it can still be able to be a contained Deadpool movie, and then you're like, oh, if we need to connect it into the MCU, here's how we do it. So, and you know, Ant-Man and the Wasp, it just feels like it gets a little bit too much into the, and Kang is great in this movie. Like, the performance of Jonathan Majors is a great individual acting performances, but the beats of the story are just, and you know, so the Marvels and Doctor Strange is there's a lot there that is definitely positive, but it's not it's not the one that I'm like, hey, let's throw this on like right away. You know, it may be ooh, I'm kind of out of movies to watch, and like, let's give Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness a chance. Like, we'd have to rewatch the Predator franchise like 6 times before we're like, yeah, you know, maybe we'll throw on Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But again, you know, and not to say the bar, of course, for the Multiverse saga is not what it was for the Infinity Saga, but I still think this would have been a strong entry right in the middle of the Infinity Saga as well too. Like, I still don't know if it was, it's not Winter Soldier, of course. The well, I guess Thor: The Dark World, but the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron trio is pretty elite. And then you go I mean, you got Ant-Man in here, which is a solid movie. But Captain America, Doctor Strange, Guardians, Spider-Man, Homecoming, Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity... I mean, chat. There's a reason, as much as you want to criticize the MCU, there is a reason that it got to the level that it was, because the run of movies was... What are they, like... 11 out of 12 movies. That was Winter Soldier, Guardians, Ultron, Civil War, Strange, Guardians 2, Homecoming, Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War. Is an insane movie run for any studio to put out. But you could slide Thunderbolts. If you went Ant-Man to Thunderbolts to Captain America, and I know that wouldn't work out, obviously, because of the Bucky storyline. I'm just saying, in the movie qualities, it would fit right in there. Or Ant-Man to Captain America to then Thunderbolts, and then you're into Doctor Strange or whatever. Like, it's good enough to be... I would rather watch Thunderbolts than Ant-Man, I think. Shout out to Ant-Man. I'm not anti-Ant-Man. I just think maybe I like what Thunderbolts is going for as a little bit more... And maybe the ending of Ant-Man is a little bit better than the ending of Thunderbolts. The first 2/3 of Thunderbolts, though, I would probably enjoy more than Ant-Man. If we're just comparing those two movies. Because, again, the rest of the MCU, chat, I mean, it's pretty strong. It's going to have a hard time breaking up over some of these other movies. But if you go... well, yeah, I guess let's look at the other people that were in the movie as well, too. Because, like we said, from the movie standpoint, that jumped out the page was like, hey, we're just focused on let's have a quality story again and bring that back to the screen. And then from the individual characters as well, too. I mean, Bucky Barnes is, of course, the most established character in this film in terms of his MCU run. So, most well-developed, maybe. But, of course. But also just the most emotional attachment that we've had with any of these characters as well. And to be honest, Bucky is an interesting character because I don't know what the sports comp for Bucky Barnes is, because the peak version of Bucky Barnes, like Bucky Barnes obviously in Winter Soldier, just as a character and as an on-screen presence, Bucky Barnes is, in Sebastian Stan, whatever chat, like, it's one of the best MCU performances that we've gotten is Bucky Barnes in that Winter Soldier movie and in that Winter Soldier bag, especially when he's still, walking around as the bad guy before he's turned back into the good version of himself. And once he turns back into the good version of himself, I get that his character is going to change a little bit, but they really nerf his character. And again, he's a great presence. He's also just one of the coolest characters. His fighting scenes, his fighting style as well too, is, again, just I think really unique for the MCU. Like, you think Captain America and those type of fighters are kind of doing a similar thing, kind of that more militaristic MMA. Like, we're not fighting experts here, but there's like you get Shang-Chi out there and there's a fluidity that he's able to work with, whereas Cap and Bucky are kind of maybe a little more brute force with some of the fighting moves. But his combination of the two is really impressive. And his fighting skill level did seem like it was actually a higher skill level than Captain America. Captain America just, he's Captain America and maybe a little bit better super soldier serum as well than his guy Bucky. But didn't really ever get him that well in hand-to-hand combat. Like, I'm trying to remember every fight that they had in Winter Soldier, but the main two, the one on the highway, of course, the iconic fight, doesn't really win that fight. Kind of a draw, but, Bucky has to kind of make an escape, and he gets bailed out by Sam Wilson, who would have kind of killed him if he hadn't pushed him out of the way. And then Black Widow, of course, swoops in and fires, was like some RPG or something at him, and he gets away. And then the fight at the end, he just kind of, again, he's Captain America. He just kind of nice guys him into it, and Bucky Barnes just stops punching him in the face, like, right before the point of death, and decides that, hey, maybe he is actually a guy that I like. So he never actually, like, wins over Bucky in a fight, if I'm mistaken. So again, there could be the emotional side of things, but also Winter Soldier is just like that bad of a dude that the peak version of Winter Soldier, actually Captain America, like, can't really take down. So we never got to see Winter Soldier fight at that level. And in this movie, we don't, like, Winter Soldier doesn't have a ton of awesome stunt runtime, but the runtime that he does get and the stunts that he does have in this, the opening sort of introduction to him as the Winter Soldier again, because he's in the movie he's actually a congressman in the movie. Spoiler alert again, but with the first time they say Congressman Barnes, it's like, what is happening to the MCU? There's some times where the MCU is almost a little too crossed over into the real life, whatever the Marvel real world is. Because again, even some of the early days, like, you think even a movie like Winter Soldier, Captain America is a figure of the past, but still a guy that maybe you would know if you were like super locked in, but still like tries to keep a low profile, not on public, not on the streets. Like, even when he's running around in Washington, like, to open the movie, there's like nobody on the path really with him. They're not trying to put him in public settings to be like, yeah, people know Captain America, So there's like a crossover now with the public life that sometimes is almost a little too mixed in, when you're like, wait a second, Bucky's like the president of the United, like, Bucky's gonna be president of the United States at some point, and he's a congressman now, and these guys are like in magazines and doing talk shows and pictures, and like the Fantastic Four is just gonna be on a talk show in their movie. That's in the trailers, so not really a spoiler alert. And I guess every superhero now just has to go on like Joker's in a talk show, Fantastic, everybody just has got to be in some kind of talk show appearance, I guess. But we haven't, in the Winter Soldier, the Falcon Winter Soldier show on Disney Plus, I feel like they really didn't do Bucky a service in that, to how great of a fighter he was. And I get the villains in that, you're casting them and you're trying to tell a certain story with who those characters are, but a lot of times those characters, just with the fighting experience that they had, would not have. Bucky is also old as well too. Like, that's the thing. He's not just an experienced fighter. The man's had a lot of reps. So a lot of the people that were fighting with him, because he's taken down this like rebel alliance. So I think they did have the Super Soldier Serum. But again, Bucky with the Super Soldier Serum versus Captain America with the Super Soldier Serum, he literally go toe to toe. So these soldiers that he was fighting in the Captain America show just weren't on his level, chat. He was Jason Tatum in the playoffs in that show. He was putting up 30%. It just didn't feel like Bucky Barnes. This movie, you feel like you're getting that Winter Soldier vibes Bucky Barnes again. And there's a couple of cool stunts that he pulls where, again, in that initial show, there's one scene where he hooks up again, spoiler alert, chat, but he hooks up a cable to the back of the truck they're trying to outrun. And he shows up to save him from this truck, hooks up a cable to the back of the truck. And as the truck is like driving away, you see, of course, the cables, there's like the slack is running out, the cable's getting shorter and shorter. So he picks it up, does like a power up to get some momentum, and then slams it into the ground so it hooks into the ground. And then, of course, the hook in the ground, the Jeep flips over because of the cable attached to the back of it, and then he's able to help able to help him get away from the convoy there. But just like that, those type of tactical things that Winter Soldier brings to the table, because that's what it is, tactical as well too. And I know, like, it's not that Shang-Chi's not tactical, it's just, I don't, for a lack of a better word, that sort of militaristic mindset that he's able to apply to things. I love Bucky. I think Bucky is low-key my favorite fight. It's either him and, I guess just shout out that there needs to be a movie with him and Black Panther in Wakanda, because I think that would be my favorite. I guess, RIP chat, but there should have been a movie with him and Black Panther in Wakanda, because those, I think, are the two people that I like I like seeing them fight on screen the most out of the MCU. I do like some of the, like, Thanos fighting is really cool. I'm trying to remember all the Thanos fights, because again, he's fighting a lot of the Avengers where, well, shout out again to the champ. He showed me this one fan-made clip of Thanos fighting Doomsday in like a hypothetical opening scene, and that's fun because, of course, Thanos and
did I say Doomsday? Was it Doctor Doom? Thanos and Doctor Doom kind of match up, of course, physically against each other, even though Thanos doesn't think so. But Thanos doesn't really face anybody on his physical level in these movies, unless there's, again, something from the multiverse saga where they go to this thing and see Thanos get beat up by some guy. But I'm not remembering. Is there a Kang versus Thanos fight that I'm not remembering? Or maybe Kang describes one. But again, Thanos at the peak of his powers is not matched up against like a physical threat. Oh, the Hulk. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of that first fight versus the Hulk, because there's one fight where he was like stand up against the guy versus his same size. So that was like a cool the one moment where he's sparring with the Hulk there for a second. The Hulk's actually going with him. That is a really cool fight as well too, because just two giants fighting is great, chat. But outside of that, Winter Soldier is up there. And now we're really getting into the spoilers alerts, chat. The other really favorite one that I like, and again, it's a bit of a cheat because, you know, she has the ability to copy all these people, but Taskmaster is another one that I was like, I'm excited to. One of the main reasons I'm excited to watch this movie is because I was like, okay, maybe now we can get Taskmaster some run. And I haven't been keeping up on the Disney Plus shows, so I was listening to the Ringerverse, the Midnight Boys. Shout out, pew pew, Van Lathan and those guys. But they were talking like there was some other Taskmaster introduced over the course of the shows, or that they were planning on introducing one. I don't know what was going on there. So I guess as long as the Taskmaster character is still in the MCU, I'm good there, chat. Like, as long as we still get to see Taskmaster, that's fine. But the idea of Taskmaster getting some runtime in this movie, like right now, chat, was it get me a little bit excited? Hey yo! But unfortunately, spoiler alert: Taskmaster goes down quick. Taskmaster is actually the only Thunderbolt that dies in this movie, and again, dies very fast. And not to snitch, chat. I'm not a snitch, but it was Ghost. Ghost did it, and the headshot was, I mean, a clean kill. Not a lot of direct headshots like that in a Marvel movie. A couple of things that you don't get in a Marvel. I mean, there's been a couple of Marvel movies, like Doctor Strange, I think was that rated R? Just like, oh, first, Marvel movie rated R or whatever, some horror elements, or maybe just the horror elements introduced. Maybe it was the Deadpool movie that was the first movie rated R. And then this one, you get the first like up close real headshot through a mask, so you don't actually see like a headshot. And then you get the first ever you get the first ever meth reference, because there's the villain in this movie, the kind of villain in this movie, and then the newest member of the Thunderbolts, who's not in this picture, but his name's Bob. His name's Robert Reynolds, and the Sentry is what they call him. The Sentry is his superhero name. So the Sentry gets added to the group in this movie, and he's kind of a fun character as well too. I really enjoyed him. But yeah, shout out to Taskmaster. R.I.P. Not a great run in this movie, but the few moves that she did pull, she was really incredible. So that's the reason that I had Black Widow back on in the background, is I got to rewatch some of the Taskmaster scenes while we're in the Taskmaster vibes. But yeah, Bucky and Sebastian Stan was awesome in this movie as a fighter, as the stunt stuff, and as an actor. Again, I think Sebastian Stan does a really good job in that show on Disney Plus, but he is just much better in this movie than he is in that show, and gets a little bit more runtime as an actual character as Bucky Barnes in a movie, versus he did, again, like Winter Soldier, he's just under the serum the whole time. Civil War, he's kind of back and forth, and then in the other ones, he basically is just a side character, and we don't really get Bucky as a main dude, because, I mean, with all due respect to Bucky, gotta wait his turn. He's a freshman, and he's got Christian Laettner and Grant Hale and Bobby Hurley in the starting lineup for the other Avengers. Let these guys go to the NBA first before Bucky gets a little bit of screen time. But you don't actually get to see him cook as an actor in the movie setting. But also, Sebastian Stan is just a better actor now, too, than he was a couple years ago, kind of like a lot of these guys in the MCU. And one of the main things that struck me in watching this movie from a Sebastian Stan standpoint was, and I don't know what role Bucky is going to play as a leader in the MCU, because I don't even know what role he's going to play on a leader as this team. Like, I guess, Yelena, spoiler alert, kind of emerges
out of this movie as the main person. But Sebastian Stan as an actor has the ability to lead the MCU in that way. And that was, of course, the part by the end that made it special. Like, we were able to learn and, pause, but we were able to grow our relationships. I was going to say we were able to grow with the characters. So, hopefully over our lives we were able to grow with the characters, but maybe not all of us. But our relationships, of course, were able to develop the... And are we actually watching Naked and Afraid? I thought we were just watching an ad for Naked and Afraid, but no, the show's just on right now. So, shout out. I mean, I'm not necessarily not enjoying it, but I don't know if it's what we want to use our time watching, chat. I mean, why watch that when we can watch Sports Center? Or Food Network? A little Food Network to cap off the night, chat? That might be the move. Oh, wait a second. The last couple of minutes of Hustle and Flow on MGM Plus? Oh, chat. Okay, well, we're not going to turn this into a Hustle and Flow rewatch, but since it's on, double movie background? Hustle and Flow and Black Widow? I guess so, chat. I guess so. But, yeah, Sebastian Stan does have the acting chops. So, wait. Inside the NBA is just over as well, too. How did we get Naked and Afraid instead of a lot of Inside the NBA? Or we just rambled right through it and weren't even paying attention. Sorry, Charles. Sorry, Mr. Barkley. My bad. But the characters became better and more increasingly... our relationships grew with the characters like Iron Man and Captain America. But Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans... And, Chris Evans, for what you want to say about him as maybe an actor... I actually think Chris Evans is a really good actor. And maybe he's got like the Michael B. Jordan, sort of hooks up with the but gets there, does get in a movie with Haley Steinfeld. And if Haley Steinfeld spits in Chris Evans' mouth in a movie, then yes, Chris Evans will be a good actor, I guess. But maybe he gets linked up with the right director at some point in the right role where they can use him properly, and you'll get to see his acting chops in the right way. Because I think you saw him in those Captain America movies. He is just a good actor in those roles by the end of the movies. And Thor, Chris Hemsworth as Thor is just funny and charming and easygoing. And Infinity War is great because all of those guys they're so comfortable with their characters at that point. It's like watching, the last couple of seasons of Fresh Prince or The Office. Or The Office is weird because there's character shifts. There's new people interjected throughout The Office. So while and the characters change, like Jim and stuff change. So The Office is a weird one, but like the way that sort of the Friends, I think the Friends is almost the peak. Fresh Prince, they really settle in as well too. But again, you lose Aunt Viv. So, with Friends, the cast like really gels and really becomes comfortable with themselves in the later seasons. That the earlier season, it's an interesting show to rewatch because the earlier seasons are a little bit better in terms of the episodes are better, but the cast is in such a role and they're so comfortable and just so funny and so good at doing the show together that it's such a good hang that those later seasons are almost better to go back and rewatch because of that aspect. Like there's such a comfortability to in those early seasons. Like Ross is a little bit more some people might find him more annoying in the later episodes, but either way, like the MCU is just so comfortable by the end of there that I think they're actually great actors as well too. And of course, RDJ goes on to win an Oscar, but Sebastian Stan as well has been nominated for an Oscar, and you could see his acting chops in this movie. Like this is great actors all around. Like Florence Pugh. I mean, the three main people we see here, of course, Pugh, Harbour, and Sebastian Stan. Like those three people just cast in a movie, and again, you get the label. They get to be A-listers in a movie because it's a Marvel movie, but they really do give us about an A-list level performance. I think Sebastian Stan definitely. Harbour goes for it a couple times. He's really given it as the Red Guardian. The Red Guardian is drunk for a lot of this movie, so it makes sense. But Harbour is really going for it. And he's funny. He's captivating. He's a nice change of pace, even though it may be a little bit much at times. And Florence Pugh is just, she's just a force at acting, chat. She's great in everything she does. So her and Stan, and is it Lewis Pullman as Bob and Fontaine? It's a really well acted movie. That's why this movie, again, I think checks a lot of those boxes for the quality standpoint. Outside of a little bit of a couple of bloated scenes, like I'm trying to even remember, they don't even jump out like what they were right away. There's a scene where they're trying to escape up an elevator. Like maybe just pick up the pace on some of the escape and some of the planning and some of the development stuff. But all of the set pieces, the flow, it feels, hustle and flow, Chad. It feels like a hustle and flow is, not too bad for a 2-hour movie. But you get great performances, great concept, and great set pieces, and great action as well too, Chad. There's a great set piece in the first half of this movie where they go to this vault that is located in this mountain. And I knew right away that just when Julia Louis-Dreyfus says that she needs to send Florence Pugh to eliminate this thing inside the vault in a mountain, and they pan to this vault, it's like, I don't even need to watch the rest of the scene. This is the best scene that Marvel's had in like 5 years. This type of, again, just very down-to-earth, very realistic, very... I don't want to keep saying military, but you get what I'm saying there, chat, with that just very, guns and ammo, and they're invading, and we've a lot of flanking this way, and we're maneuvering that way, and just real life type fighting stuff that they're pulling off, and extravagant security places, and it checks a lot of those James Bond level, action, real life action movies that the MCU has grown away from as well too, as it gets even a little bit more extreme with some of the MCU stuff. So great performances. Like Pugh as well is a real leader in the MCU the way that ScarJo was. And I guess now is the time for maybe not the biggest spoiler in the movie, but one of the other spoilers for the movie. Of course, there's an asterisk on the title for the marketing of this movie for the name The Thunderbolts. And the reason for that for that asterisk is because you get to the end of the movie and the title credits flip over, and you realize that this group is actually called the New Avengers. It's the New Avenger group. I guess we're not comic accurate guys, but whatever. It's called the New Avengers, and you do see the beats of the Avengers in all of the, reflected in some of these guys, and it is kind of fun how it all lines up in that way. Like I think maybe like David Harbour's almost a little bit like the Hulk a little bit for their team, and a little bit of I guess you could say Bob is sort of the uncontrollable Hulk guy. But I think Bob is almost going to fill a little bit more of a Vision role of sort of that alienistic, extra powerful, being type space power guy that they might need into the group, where it's a lot of Earth powered or suits or extra powered up humans, but they may need like an actual space powered guy to help them in some of these matchups. So I think Bob gets like the Vision role. You could say that Wyatt Russell gets just the Captain America role in general, but I kind of almost think that Florence Pugh gets a little bit of the Captain America role, and then Bucky kind of takes maybe an Iron Man role. So Bucky's going to make the sacrifice play in Doomsday. Wouldn't be surprised, Chad. Wouldn't be surprised. Didn't think about it until right now, and now I'm getting a little sad thinking about it because I don't want to see Bucky die. But she does say in this movie basically that there's one point where it was after Taskmaster had died and they're discussing it, and Ghost, who is the one that killed Taskmaster, was asking Florence Pugh about her, and she's like, she was a complicated person. She killed a lot of people, and then she got killed herself. And Florence Pugh says, like we will. So that they're probably all going to die at some point in Doomsday or Secret Wars, and then there's going to be like a they'll die, then they'll come back, and some of them will die for good in the final stand. But maybe Florence Pugh and maybe the Thunderbolts make a sacrifice play at some point because of their anti-heroism, and that's a foreshadow to it. But again, you get the beats of a team-up movie, and you get some performances, some characters. Like, yeah, there's some similarities here, but the style to which that they are working for the lead character, and you have DeFontaine, of course, in the Fury role as well, too, leading the group. It does feel like it varies itself enough to provide a new story to the MCU, where you're like, give me, but if you want to spend your time in the variety in the amounts of different takes that you can get on these superhero. If there's a 35th way that they can tell a superhero story, like, hey, this is actually kind of a fun way to do it. And the ending with, again, spoiler alert, them having to, I guess you'll just have to see the movie, but them having to almost hug it out for them to win is a little bit of like a, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to need to rewatch the movie to build up to this scene every time, but the getting there through the action and the story is, I think, a good first really, really great first 2/3, and then, a really, really solid last third act or whatever in the movie. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a great, great performance in this movie as well, too. And Wyatt Russell was an interesting one that I was looking forward to because, again, like new Avengers, the Avengers that we're seeing at this point is got like 75 members in it. So there's so many people in the Avengers, but that OG Avengers was just that, of course, more stripped down simple group of teammates. And this, in that OG group of teammates, means that, not just on the field there's more responsibility for them, but in the screen time run, there's going to be, and you kill off Taskmaster as well too. You got 5 characters in the movie. There's going to be more screen time for each of the characters to work with. And Wyatt Russell was an interesting one from that show as well too, because again, his character's supposed to be a little bit of a jerk, but I think you can be of course you can be a likable jerk in a TV show or a movie, and his character was crossing the line into almost unlikable jerk, and it was like, I get that, again, he's going for this stuff, but it's not like I'm enjoying him on screen all that much. And again, that's not the Wyatt Russell piece of it. It's just more the way that the character is being laid out there from the MCU standpoint of things. And there was a couple of times that Wyatt Russell was doing some Captain America stuff that it's like, again, it's not Wyatt Russell's fault. It's the writers. Like, I don't think we need to be paying this many homages to Captain America. Like, we get it. Captain America is great. And I'm not saying that let's forget about Captain America, but also, maybe I'm Sam Wilson saying that it's trademarked here, chat. But when Wyatt Russell at one point has to swing around Florence Pugh to like crush a fuse box with his Captain America shield, and when he swings around Florence Pugh, he hits her with the on your left. So he goes on your left and then comes flying through and then smashes all the electrical stuff. And when he hits her with the on the left, it was like, hey, whoa, trademark. Maybe get Sam Wilson's lawyers on that one instead of the Avengers title. But yeah, they do actually do that. Make Wyatt Russell like the likable jerk character in this movie, where he does still stay kind of a douchey, a-hole kind of guy throughout this. But by the end of it, you're like, this is kind of a guy that I'm okay hanging out with in this group of people. I don't know if I'd want to see like a full Wyatt Russell vehicle at this point, but him as the fifth man in this lineup, it works, chat. And Ghost actually kind of fully flushed out a little bit more, not like backstory and stuff, but just more runtime in a movie. She's great. She really works as a character in her dynamic. Maybe she's like I guess she would be kind of like the Ant-Man to the team in a way, but it's really, really fun, chat. And again, in listening to the Ringerverse, I think one of the smart things that they said, I think it was, shout out to Jomi, who said this on their pod, but he was saying that, in spoiler for the post-credit scene, I guess, now at this point, that when you see the Fantastic Four ship, the next movie, when you see the Fantastic Four ship crash landing on Earth on the radar, what the Ringerverse guys were saying was, he was getting excited about the idea of, if the Thunderbolts, of course, are popping back up as a group in the future in these movies, that is actually like an exciting thought for a fan in these situations. And that's the part that they've been missing, I think, with these characters. Again, I can be biased here and say like, well, I'm waiting for Shang-Chi. And I think Shang-Chi again really did hit. I think a lot of people are excited for when and it's had really good legs as well too. I know that, again, a lot of our friends and stuff as well too have like gone back and be like, yeah, actually that one is like, I've really been throwing that one on a lot. That one's really grown on me. That's a really quality, fun MCU movie to go back and rewatch. But I don't know if people are like counting the days or necessarily like trying to pick out the spot where Shang-Chi is going to be in the next movie, where it's like, oh, I kind of want to get to the next movie because I want to see the Fantastic Four. And again, this is how the MCU works, and this is how the MCU connects all the puzzle pieces in this way. Make great movies. We just want to see Bucky Barnes again and Florence Pugh again and David Harbour again. They were on a mission this time to accomplish this one specific thing, but maybe next time it's a different thing. But they were also able to tie it in by just the one simple, hey, this thing's going to be crash landing. They may need their assistance in this movie in the future. And just the idea of there is another, a Thunderbolts movie, a Thunderbolts 2 movie that we could potentially get in the future, but just another property to which we could potentially view these guys as well. It gives you a reason to go watch Fantastic Four, to be like, hey, maybe just a sneak peek. I mean, you're going to watch it for itself, but then gets you excited for those crossover events in the future as well. So this is and again, you want to say, is it the perfect, 10 out of 10 Marvel is back sort of thing? Then, maybe it'll age into that eventually. But in terms of, hey, is Marvel thinking the right way? Is Marvel building the right game? This movie is the Detroit Pistons from this past year. Maybe, Bucky Barnes is a little bit more of a veteran than Cade. It's like if at Cade's play level in Tobias Harris' experience, where he's been around a little bit, but he's able to kind of carry the movie into the playoffs. This is the perfect type of rebuilding year where we're yeah, the Pistons, we get it. They're eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. If we were doing a Marvel movie bracket, maybe this one doesn't go super far into the Marvel movie bracket. Maybe it's, there's just a ton of other all-timer stuff that they have put out there. But it's still the type that is going to be remembered fondly, is going to be competitive, quote unquote competitive in any of those matchups, chat. But, maybe it's close, chat. Again, we'll just have to see and I'm not going to sit here and be like, okay, here's where it's good, here's where it's bad. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this movie, and I will watch it again as well too. I want to see some of the action stuff, some of the set pieces. Again, the more screen time of Bucky Barnes, and it's not a Bucky movie. It's definitely a Florence Pugh movie. I know we were saying that Bucky Barnes stood out in his role, but like we said as well, Florence Pugh was excellent, and Florence Pugh is the driving force of this movie the entire way. It opens with her and her story, and there's flashbacks for a lot of the characters that we see, but really focusing on the past for Florence Pugh's character as well too, which sets her up as a main emotional force, I think. Oh, chat. Oh no, I didn't unplug the mic. I just unplugged the earbuds out of the mic, which sets her up as a big emotional force, I think, for the Avengers movies as well too. Maybe she's, I don't know if we're going to be doing sacrifice play draft for Avengers Doomsday, but we just might, chat. We just might. Again, maybe they kill everybody in Doomsday at this point, and then it's how do they bring everybody back? Infinity War, it's just up the stakes every time. There's only one way to go from killing half. You just gotta kill all the superheroes, I guess. But yeah, fully recommend Thunderbolts. It is definitely worth it. Great watch. Great stuff. And did I finish up what I was saying about the ratings as well too? Where did I trail off on that, chat? We were talking about it being kind of rated like Nokia. Okay for the MCU stuff. It's a Yelena movie. She's fantastic in it. Florence Pugh just, the stock continues to rise, chat. Because, even watching Black Widow, it's kind of her, we were comparing this movie to the Pistons. I was about to make another basketball comparison, and then I got back on track. Yeah, this movie is the Pistons for this year, where you're like, okay, obviously we don't want this Pistons team to be the best version of the Pistons, this iteration of the Pistons team. But if this is the building blocks of it going forward, this is the perfect launching point. A star piece, a couple of veterans to get you through the season, some other young pieces in the wing that might be if they're able to take a couple steps forward, then, if Ghost and Wyatt Russell are able to take a couple steps forward, then maybe we're looking at a playoff combination for this Thunderbolts crew. But it's that perfect couple of just getting the things right and getting the basics right for the turnaround. Kevin Feige, I don't know if he brought in J.B. Bickerstaff to direct this movie, but it's basically what he did, where every MCU movie in this quality going forward, I think, again, we're still going and we're still watching our money. They're still getting our money. We're still watching it. but it's not the same sort of thing. But if this is the building blocks for the greater pieces and how they're thinking, especially for some of those Avengers and some of those other movies going forward, then we're still on pace for, hey, the MCU can still be special, and it can still give us special projects as well too, not just, hey, fun other additions to the franchise, but things that can be actual impactful movies for the day as well too, chat. So shout out, great job, a lot of fun. Shout out to the director. What was the director's name here, chat? I forget. Jake Schreier, who I think does not have a extensive filmography at this point. Yeah. Robot and Frank in 2012. Paper Towns in 2015, and then the Thunderbolts in 2025. But he did direct the We Cry Together music video by Kendrick Lamar. So, I mean, maybe the filmography is a little bit more stacked than I thought. So, Thunderbolts, how does this compete with We Cry Together, chat? I will say, at this point, I have seen We Cry Together more. But again, it was released a couple years ago, so it's been out longer. Thunderbolts, when it hits Disney+, maybe the rewatch time will go up for that one as well too, chat. But let me see. Was there anything else that I needed to say right away? I guess, we can always come back around and mention it again in the future, chat. But yeah, shout out to the Thunderbolts for carrying us through tonight, and for the NBA lottery karma rankings for carrying us through, because the Pacers versus the Cavs did not do that whatsoever. Final box score check on the night. Again, 20-point game. Cleveland storming back in the fourth quarter there to cut it to 20. Donovan Mitchell with only 12 and a minus 35. Garland with 21. Jared Allen with 2. Mobley with 10. Bench guys. Whoa. Did Kenny Atkinson set the record for most guys in a playoff game? Most guys. Hey, yo. Most players played in a playoff game? Or did Steve Kerr have that record as well? Because, make no mistake, we got Kevin Knox in a playoff game for the Warriors. That is a sign that usually things aren't going too well. Halliburton with 11. Miles Turner with 20. Yeah, hit a couple of threes. 4 for 4 from the three-point line tonight. Insane. Siakam with 21. 9 for 10 from the field is crazy. 43% from the three-point line as a team, and 52% as a team from the field. So 52-43 percentages, 52-43, 80 splits. And I mean, the Cavs shot 40% from the three-point line tonight as well. Probably, yeah, some of the bench guys subbing in later in the game. Jalen Tyson off the bench, 5 for 6 from the free throw line, 2 for 3 from 3. Maybe, was that their first-round pick this year? Maybe he's a little something going forward in the future, Ty Jerome, still, you think you'd throw him out there when you're down 30 and just say, hey, Ty Jerome, just get your momentum back. But unfortunately not, chat. So Indiana is 1 game away from returning to the conference championship game. Wait, what movie are we playing right now, chat? What are we wrapping this up on? Hey, yo, pause. We'll let you guys in real quick on behind the scenes and let you know. Now that we're just in random whatever is on TNT after this game phase. Is this just a show or something? What are we getting? Flashdance? Oh, that's right. We switched it over to MGM Plus. I forgot about that. So I guess, are we watching Flashdance while we fall asleep? I don't know, chat. We will see. But, well, if we want to fall asleep, we'll just replay the first half of this game. Yikes, chat. Yikes. But the playoffs chug along. We'll be back later this week. More fun stuff. Post-lottery, we'll actually know where Cooper Flag goes. Just a quick recap of the lottery karma rankings. We're keeping an eye on the Sixers for the number 1 pick. The Hornets and the Wizards. The Mavs, those are in the top 4. We've got Blazers as well, too, as a stealth team. And then it could be any of the other teams. Really, I think that top 5, it's going to be one of those 5 teams, chat. 6, hot take. It's going to be one of the third of the teams from the lottery. But if we had to cut out 2/3, at least the way to narrow it down, it's going to be Sixers, Blazers, Mavs, or Wizards, or Hornets. And maybe I just kind of want it to be the Mavs. So, or I guess I don't want it to be the Mavs, but I kind of want it to be Cooper Flag and Anthony Davis. It's like a fun combination. But
It's going to be either the... So we'll just cut the Mavs out there as well, too. The Blazers, they move up one more spot on the last... even as a buzzer beater, chat, the Blazers are moving up. So maybe that's a sign to keep an eye on the Blazers as well, too. Maybe they win. But we are saying to do that anyway. So, Blazers, Hornets, Wizards, or Sixers. One of those 4 teams will be getting the number 1 overall pick and the rights to potentially draft Cooper Flag when we get to the draft in like June or July or whatever that is. But before we get to the draft, of course, you guys can follow along with us here on the pod, on the YouTube live. If you guys want to hang out with us here, the episodes are live. Of course, you can always hit up the channel whenever you want because the archive is still available as well. I mean, chat, we've got other great blowouts from the playoffs in the archives if you want to go back and rewatch the last game when the Pacers got killed by the Cavs. So now they return the favor in this one. But yeah, subscribe here on the YouTube if you want to hang out with us here. The live streams also go up on the podcast feeds as well across all the different platforms. Easy technology, chat. We actually know how to, instead of just have it on one, we can put it on a couple of them. But if you want to get the pod versions, or Spotify does have the video as well too. So if it just like maybe the background, close out the app but still get the you just for whatever reason, the pod platforms, it's available there as well. And the messages are open at REMINGTOM Pod on Instagram. If you guys want to DM us, send us a little message over there as well too. If you guys want to message Sam and see how he's feeling about Jason Tatum not playing well in the playoffs, but after that last game, then maybe he's feeling better, of course. But shout out to the Pacers for a great game tonight. Thank you guys for hanging with us, and we'll be back later this week, of course, multiple times. Just stay tuned, and chat, we'll be back Tuesday. Who we can? Join us Tuesday. We'll be back later.